Uh-oh.
James has joined us, and I, you know what? I think I'm probably playing in the background here too, because I never mute myself on time.
That is so weird. My tab just crashed. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Oh no.
Well, we can still hear you at least. So I mean, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
So how you doing, James? I was just talking about Stardew Valley and characters that I wish they'd made available because, like I said, like, you know, I realize that there's some people who wouldn't pick Clint because he's a big guy and stuff, but like, I felt bad for the guy because he was shy. 2, he was a likable guy. And 3, they made him unavailable. And I was like, okay, so now you've made him attractive. You know, and out of the bunch, he's the most useful. I was like, you know what? If you just want to come to my barn and break open geodes all day and smelt my bars for me, we would have a perfect time. You know?
That's something that I might be able to help you with when I get my RAM working again.
Believe me, I've been running through a year of it to start a new season. I am going to run a separate one with just you and Functional because, like, I think you both said that you hadn't played, like, he hadn't played it in a really long time, and you've never played it. So, I'm not sure how I'm going to go about it because I want to get random on, and I kind of had this idea of like a bad cop, good cop method where he's trying to teach you both how to play it properly, and I'm showing you how to play it my way because my way involves a tractor.
Well, I have a lot of experience playing a lot of Animal Crossing, and this really interesting game called Tamagotchi, or was it Tamaduchi or something Life, where you basically can make characters into like out of people you know, and then you put them all in an apartment building, and you have to like make them interact, and they will like form friendships and get in fights, or sometimes they'll get married or get into relationships. And so you can have like famous people, you can have like people you know. That game is crazy entertaining.
So just to say, well, good luck on your interview, James.
Yes, good luck.
Yes,
you do know the meme of the IKEA, right? Like what they do in the interview is they make you set up a chair so you can sit in it.
That is amazing.
And they just give you like the little keyring thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But no, seriously, good luck. Because like, you know, anyone, I cheer anyone who can get a job right now. Like, I mean, I'm still able-bodied. Like, make no mistakes. I'm not whining from the angle of, you know, and that's not whining either. It's just I feel like I'm whining because of my situation. But, you know, I don't have the medical excuse. It's just I'm living in the part of the country that's like, oh, let's kill all industries, regardless of the fact that it affects all the other industries too, because now nobody has money.
Yeah, like, I mean, I would love to just get like a part-time job, but honestly, the way that Ontario has structured their disability is for part-time, basically, that would like maybe cover groceries for like half a month. But what they would do to your check,
they would nuke it.
Yeah, they like, I mean, it's nuts. People on ODSP have to sell their cars. They have to, because you're not allowed assets over 10,000.
Hi, Arms Killer.
Hello, Arms Killer. They have to sell their
send
cars.
him a link.
Yeah, you actually really should.
Oh God.
Sorry,
that's awesome.
No, it's okay. You know, we were all taking a piss on Alex this morning in the Discord, so.
Yes,
it's not a tumor.
I'm Taylor has a the girlfriend thing, and yeah. All right. It always takes me a minute, so you guys feel the air because I'm slow at finding people.
We'll talk amongst ourselves about Tron.
Ooh, good luck, James. Get yourself in good with the city then. Local county.
Oh, local city, local county council. That's actually probably decent money, because I know here all our government officials and everything, they make hella good money and hella good benefits.
Oh yeah.
So.
I hope he reads the comment that I wrote under my link to the stream, because I thought that was really clever of me.
Thumping Thursdays, doodly doo. Let's talk about stuff and stuff.
Oh, you know what was interesting about this is they really didn't like me spelling out thump. They really hesitated on thump.
Ooh,
I was like, really?
they're being nasty.
And then I finished the word, and they're like, "Oh, okay. They're oh, she's not talking about either Trump or thump, or
Yes, and I am the non-functional, otherwise known as the I can't believe it's not functional. Can be found in your local grocer's aisle.
Holy crap, James!
just
That's amazing.
Oh, that was fast. Holy crap. That's what happens when you have better equipment, folks.
Wow.
What's that smell? Oh god, it smells like maple syrup.
Right?
Oh, you wound me, Arm Skelly. You wound me. I thought we were
I told him to
friends.
say that. I told him to say that.
That was what Jen wrote.
I was like, warning, stream may be maple scented.
Don't blame me. Jen
But
wrote
you know
that.
what? You know what? And I'm hoping Sam isn't in the chat, because it's not flung at you, but at least we're not French. French.
At least you're not French.
At least we're not French Canadian. I'm
Oh
sorry.
god, even worse.
I'm bilingual. I had to go through the French immersion program all through high school, so I have a particularly strong distaste for, because it was all run by Quebecois teachers. So
Ooh.
I have like this seeding, burning animosity towards the French language because I did not learn proper grammar in elementary school. So imagine being thrust into, like, literally just like dunked into, like, you can't speak English anymore, and having to learn French grammar when you don't have a proper grasp on English grammar. And that is a level of hell you do not want.
Well, let's just say, as someone from England, we already hate the French.
Mhm. As did my grandfather.
Let's just say French Canadians are just another step up from that.
Actually, no, my grandfather did not like the Italians. He said they were the only, my grandfather fought in the First World War, and his saying that my mother always told me about was that you could always tell the Italian taste because they were the ones with the backup lights.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Oh my god, that's precious.
Yes, yes.
Back up
My
to
my,
the
my,
base.
my, my grandfather was, I never got to meet him. He died exactly, almost exactly 10 years before I was born. But he was very strong, very, very, brave man. Immigrant from Scotland, lost his leg on Vibby Ridge, the whole 9 yards,
Oh, wow.
the whole story. But
Yeah.
racist AF.
But then that's just it, That's sort of it. Back in the day, everyone was pretty much a racist, and that's
Hi, all you need. It's
That's
no
all you
shade
need.
at you. It's no shade at you. We were actually poking fun mostly at the French, not really the
Oh,
Canadian.
yeah.
It's just because we're all Canadian, it's assumed that it's going to be poked at you. And I am Albertan, so
Oh,
honestly,
I was poking French, poking fun at French
I
Canadians,
was
but that's
sort
just
of
because of my
like-
education.
oh, I know you.
That's because of my education.
I was sort of
I
mocking
was
the French
making a
in
frog
general.
stroke. It's one of those things where I always laugh extra hard when Alex Jones says the line, "The water is making the frogs gay," because I literally thought he was talking about the way he was saying it sounded like he was talking about France. Like I was picturing the old flag, the old flag that used to have the frogs on it, the ones that the actual reason why the British call them frogs is
Yes.
because they eat
Wow.
frogs.
See, my
They love
brain
frog's
immediately,
legs.
They do,
My-
but
my brain automatically went to Jurassic Park because didn't they use like frog DNA to
Yeah.
like replace the dinosaurs, and that's why they were breeding when they weren't supposed to.
I should bring you on one of these days. All you need, like, if you're on Discord or whatnot, let me know, because I don't mind bringing on guests, like especially people I don't know. I'm actually thinking I might do that. Start reaching out to people I haven't talked to yet on the monkey streams and elsewhere, just because it is actually kind of interesting that we only really meet certain people in the community, and I mean, some people don't want to, and that's fine. Like, no pressure if you don't want to, but it's nice to give people a voice, and to really hear what it is that they think, because the thing is we all sit in monkeys chats or whatever stream we're on, and we listen to what they're saying, but you know what, we all have different angles on how we view things. Like, sometimes I think Monkey takes the white woman angle a little bit too far, but for the most part, I do agree with them that we do have a problem with white women, and we do have a problem with women in general.
Yeah, and Sinatra kind of takes the coronavirus thing a little too far. There's only so much I can hear before I'm starting to head desk after the last couple of weeks. I'm just going like bang, 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 hits the desk.
Fair enough.
But that's just
And I'm
because
just
of
too
my
busy
degree.
trying not to set myself on fire at work.
Ooh.
And I think people have heard my voice a little too much, though.
I'm telling you, your voice is going to bring all the ladies to the yard. You don't need a milkshake. You just need that voice.
Okay, my accent brings all the girls to the yard.
Yeah,
damn right,
damn
it's
right.
better than yours.
It is.
Take that shit, you people that call me a posh twat.
Yeah, you got that like Benedict Cumberbatch BBC, like mint voice. You're golden, dude.
Can you say penguins?
Penguins.
You have
Because at
already
least I'm better
surpassed
than
Benedict
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yep.
He says fucking penguins.
Penglings. Penglings.
I saw that and I just like cracked up so hard.
That's how sheltered Benedict Cumberbatch is.
But the nice part about him, the reason why I like him so much, is he can take the piss out of himself. He will do it before anyone else will. And I respect the hell out of a guy who can do that.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I respect anyone who can do that. Like, that's something that I've worked up to building up to, because it was one of those things like, the line, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words can never hurt me. And it's just like, sometimes you have to work your way up to that.
Yes.
And that's okay. That's okay. But it's better. It's actually easier to take words from other people than myself half the time. And that's actually something that I built up too. And I think that's something that's missing in a lot of our generation. Like,
oh yes,
like I'm not at the level where I'd be like roast me, because I think I would probably break down crying at some point.
I'm at that point where I'm like, roast me.
Well,
I'm not quite there. I'm like, lightly saute me. That's okay.
Like, I'm gonna be frank here. For the past week, I've had to deal with just a roasting, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, I don't mean to say things like the arms killer girlfriend joke meme, but like that's the one that comes up the most often.
Oh
so,
yeah, it's always at this point. Pete's got this joke where it's just, oh, he's whoring me out, even though he cannot, for shit, be a pimp.
Well, if it's not Pete pimping you out, it's blind girl trafficking you as a sex slave in her basement. So it's one or the other.
Yeah,
like when
Skittles claiming that he rightfully owns me, even though he doesn't.
They auctioned you off to the highest bidder.
Yeah, shit like that.
I was trying to buy your safety, but I didn't have any money, so I was just trying to like negotiate for your release.
Yeah.
Oh god.
But the thing is, it's all one big joke,
Yeah,
that's just it.
Yeah.
For me, and that's sort of how I deal with it. If you're saying it as a joke, I'm perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
It's the moment you're trying to use it in a malicious sense where I'm going to have a problem with you.
Exactly. Yes. And I can always usually, I'm not so good with certain, like, especially in text form. I can't quite get context, but
text is difficult to ascertain.
Yeah, but occasionally someone will say something and I'm not exactly sure how to take it. It's usually Batman. When Batman does it, sometimes I'm not sure if he's being serious. I'm getting better, but occasionally he'll say something and I have to kind of like stop and I'm like, should I be offended or should I just
Let's just say whenever he says something nice, then you should be concerned. That's the general rule of thumb.
Oh
That's
yeah.
kind of that's where I thought with him, because sometimes he'll say something and I'm like, oh, you're teasing me, and I know it, so I usually grin from it. But
Yeah.
because that's usually a sign that I'm going in the right direction. But at the same time, though, like, yeah, it really all has to do with the malicious, and that is actually really hard to detect with people.
Oh yeah.
Some people, it really is, and the thing is some people don't necessarily project it, but they're thinking it, and it's one of those things that's the one that scares me the most, because I would rather somebody be honest and just be like, I don't really like you.
Yes.
And just get it out of the way, because I would rather know that and solve a problem
Then, have that all bottled up and potentially causing an even bigger problem.
And it could be for any reason. Even if it was something stupid, I wouldn't care. I would just rather know, because it's...
Yeah, perfectly understandable.
And that's definitely a woman thing. Like, I'm not saying that men don't have that too, but it's definitely a woman thing, because they will drag out shit behind your back that will go on for ages. And you're like, you fan fictioned my whole life for months, and I can't unwork any of it because I don't know everything that you've said. I don't know who you said it to, but all of a sudden you've got a reputation, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, let's just say, if you want to know if a guy doesn't like you, just call him a cunt and see how they respond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how it is, though, Like, if, that's sort of it. Because if they're going to take it as a joke, then, there's probably nothing up with that. But if they're going to fucking rant and rave after the fact, they probably don't like you.
Yes.
Like,
thanks, Elwin.
No problem.
No, you really did save my butt, and so did Duck Dog, and so did Cryptic, and so did Shio, and yeah, it really helped me out, because I was like, it's been since February the 1st. And I mean, I still had to wait 2 days. And I mean, last night I could have gone out, but I was legit not feeling well. I was just like, I don't want to get a cold. It doesn't matter what kind of cold. I don't want it. Because yeah.
Actually, speaking of, because last time I spoke to you, Elwin, you weren't all that well, were you? So how are you doing?
It's one of those things. I'm on a new medication that is taking its sweet time to work, and as a result, I have good days and bad days, and today is not particularly a good day. So I may have to give a phone call to my doctor and go like, dude, what the hell? I just had to pay out of pocket for something that I literally could not afford, that you were supposed to give me coverage for. And it's not doing anything except making me feel horrible. So we shall see.
So I am going to say the one offense.
No, I don't have that. That would actually that actually might be an upgrade.
So I am going to say the one joke that I want to say, and honestly, do not take it seriously, Arms Killer, because
don't worry, I'm not going to take any jokes.
It was one of those things where, like, I don't want it to appear in any other countries. Like, I'd rather it just be contained if they can do it, just because it's easier to deal with it. But I kind of was like, if it shows up in the UK, which I'm sure it will at some point, can we start throwing limes at them and call them limeys again?
Fuck it, you can call them limeys now. I don't think it would really matter.
They'll just throw them back.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
You know that.
No, I think they'd keep them because they'd be like free food.
Oh, no, we would be throwing them back.
Oh, you would? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the English thing to do.
I think it's because I've been in communist Canada for a little bit of a long time. So I'm thinking of like, I remember when limes were like almost $2 last year. So like right now they're okay. But
they're like $1.50.
The English thing to do, regardless of the price of limes, would be to throw them back and make a sarcastic comment.
Yeah,
because that's how the English work.
Absolutely. Like I as I've said before, I'm only second generation Canadian. So I grew up in my grandfather, he was born in 1891. So we're talking serious old school. So I was raised in a very, very British household. So yeah, my first thought was, yeah, you throw it back and you make a smart ass comment.
Yes, that's exactly how it works.
Because that's how I was raised.
See, that means we have to up our game. So instead of just throwing the lime, we have to first pack it into a snowball really tightly, and then we throw it. I mean, sure, you're going to still throw it back, but
Oh yeah.
but now you have to put in more effort.
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah, you have to make it hurt. You gotta
we'll
whip,
just
you
put it
gotta
on a
whip that
trebuchet.
sucker. Yeah, you gotta whip
Oh.
that.
Yeah, we'll just
for the head.
bring the trebuchet.
No, you know what they'll
you'll be
do?
fine.
They'll turn it into like a Scots egg or something gross, and then they'll hook it back.
Yes, we will get a Scotch egg and put it in a bunch of snow and then throw it back at you.
Food fights. You know what this world needs? We need food fights. I think we
That
need
sounds like fun.
recreational food fights. You know, the things where you can just have fun.
As someone with OCD, please do not include me in the food fights. If you unless you want me to spaz out, because that would be what happens.
Food has to be in certain orders and certain colors.
No, it's just the idea of getting food on me that
okay.
that would horrify me. So
Would a
I'll
hazmat suit
referee
be
that.
good enough for you?
You know, I can't even use that. You know, I was gonna say we all dress up in sumo suits, but then someone would be crying racism or something.
Those T-Rex suits.
Yes.
That'll work.
T-Rex is throwing limes. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Ideas.
Yes. This is what we need.
Did you
This
see
is what we need in the world.
that clip? I can't call it up because I can't do that from my computer. But there is a clip where an entire family dressed up in those T-Rex costumes and they greeted each other at the airport.
Oh
So,
yes,
like,
I've seen that.
Yeah, the family was waiting,
That
and
was
the
so
grandparents
heartwarming.
were. Yeah, it was adorable.
It was adorable.
It was very heartwarming, and also shows you the kind of family they are when they are all willing to dress up as T-Rexes in a
Even the
public space like that.
grandparents. It was the grandparents. Like they had like clearly like put the suits on when they were getting off the plane so they could meet their other family and dressed as T-Rexes. So it was just like, that's awesome. They must have the best Christmases, like, and the
Oh
ugliest.
shit!
Christmas sweaters.
Sounds like fun.
Hi, Random.
Hello,
It
random
is.
American.
You are totally right. We are a great panel full of accents. Well, actually, 3 of us have a very similar accent.
I'm the odd one out here.
Not necessarily the same, but there is definitely a difference between you, Elwyn, and functional. And I'm not talking shit functional, just so you know, in case you're listening. I think you're sleeping, but just in case.
He's
He's sleeping. But he's got a more stronger Toronto accent. It's one of those things where, as nice of a voice as he's got, sometimes he does that speed up talk.
Yeah, I've been told that I have this, like, they can't place it. I've been called French. I've been told, a little bit of a Scottish accent coming in, but that I think just comes from the way I was raised. But people can't place like my voice. It's weird, and I get stopped by the most random people in weird places, like when I go to medical appointments, like at the hospital gift shop. Someone will stop me and be like, "I can't place your accent," and I'm like, "I was not aware I had one." So,
You know what, to be fair, I can kind of hear the Scottish
yeah,
ever so
Yeah.
slightly.
it will
Yeah,
come
you
out
also-
every now and again.
It might come out
Yeah.
more with the fact that you do hang out with a lot of the Brits and Peter's hangout, and I mean that's that's the thing. Like it has a lot to do with being a melting pot person, because my neighbor was British. She was from London. I can't remember where her husband was from, but like, they both had a little bit of a different accent, and I grew up with it, across the street, having conversations, things like that. If I hung out with them for too long, I would start talking like that. And it's a natural thing. Like, I think Scotty said it before, like, people who move there quite often will pick it up because it's still English. It's still English. It's just, you guys do use certain different terms.
Tarot cryptic.
But you pronounce it different.
Hieroglyphic.
So, over time I would start to do that. Well, when you live in a multicultural melting pot, you have to be careful who you do that with. Because some people are just so high strung, and it's like, listen, I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just like, you know what? For the last 3 months, all I've been working with are Filipinos. And you know what? They have a different way of speaking English. And it's very standard English, because most other countries that aren't westernized learn to speak standard English, which is closer, I believe it's closer to the Queen's version. And that's every conversation I've had with one. So it's like, if I ever do sound like you, do not take offense to it. It's just my brain is retarded and it likes to parrot stuff at inappropriate times.
My accent is incredibly weird.
Yeah.
In the sense that it hasn't really changed all that much, it seems.
Hi, Cryptic.
But it sort of changed into this when I was like 10 or 11.
Angrish.
It's not right if I don't say his name in like this chirpy voice or something. I must drive, if his cat can hear that at all, it must drive him nuts.
Also, random American. Hey, that's a comment I'm supposed to be saying, you fucking asshole.
Yeah, some people do.
Oh, sure, blame the Brits.
But
No,
there
go
are
ahead.
some accents that I would never fully be able to do. Like, there would certainly be some that I would pick up certain parts to. Like the Southern accent has a very different sounding drawl. And I've tried to mimic it, but it's one of those things where I'd probably have to be stuck in the heartlands of it for a while to really get the flow of it, because it's not just how you speak, but it's watching your mouth and your throat and how you're projecting. Because some people speak through their diaphragms, some people speak through their chest and their throat, through the cheek and the tongue, and that has a huge impact on the sound. I probably could have been a voice actor. It's one of those things I kick myself for not having a pair of girl balls, and just gone out and tried.
Still try.
I could still try. I just have to
random,
work
go
on
sit in the
and
corner.
practice it, and it's just, I live in an apartment building, so I'm always trying to be conscious of the people living around me, and I don't want to be that guy.
Well, you know what? We live in an apartment building, too, and when I'll go to do laundry, and when Functional is streaming, I can hear him down the hall. So God only knows what the neighbors think. So.
Oh yeah, God only knows what my neighbors think, and I'm not even in an apartment. I just scream a lot.
But I'm trying to be genuine with my words at all times anyway. Like, it's one of those things where I want what I say on here to be genuine in real life too. Like, and at the same time, like, if one of my neighbors wanted to come up and discuss things with me, if they heard something or they disagreed or they had a different point, I would enjoy that.
See, we have,
as long as it was like rational and calm, and we.
I get along well with the neighbors that are not close by. We have next door neighbors, and like if I go on the balcony to like have a cigarette, all you hear is like doors slamming and like all this swearing in Filipino, and I know it's directed at me, like, because no one just like slams a door and then slams the window like literally like a couple of feet away from you. I'm like, I'm not even blowing the smoke in your direction. Like, dude, I don't complain when you make food that literally smells so bad I want to throw up, and you will, like, because they do. Like, we've had to actually call the super once because the smell was so bad. Like, Functional and I were both like, we were going to throw up. Like,
my neighbors did this smoke out of a fish on their grill, and I was like, I don't doubt that when it's done, it probably tastes amazing, but when you're the guy living updoors, all you smell is that. Although it also could have been something like a durian fruit, because they are Malaysian. Like, I mean, Filipinos and Malaysians, they're kind of related. So like, I know a lot of them like that fruit, and it smells like a poo garlic.
And Cryptic, yeah, they may taste good, but there's a particular fish dish that that the Filipinos do, and I don't know how they cook it, but I've never smelled a rotting body, but I'm pretty sure that is what it would smell like. It is just something that is so foul that and we have horrific ventilation in this apartment building, like horrific. Like, people are taking up like a like a complaint list, because people have been complaining of waking up like with like leg pains and stuff like that. Like I've actually started experiencing that myself, and we're actually adjacent to another building, and a couple of times the fire departments come, and I found out later it's because there's like carbon monoxide leak in the adjoining. Well, it's not completely true, but the vents are adjoining buildings. So I'm starting to wonder, is any of that like leaking in here and we just don't know about it? Like I'm starting to get a little bit suspicious on that one. So the sooner they get that fixed, the happier I'll be.
Yeah, it's not meant to be mean or anything. Like I appreciate that people have their own food that they want to have, especially if it's traditional or, you know, they miss home or something. I have no problems with that. It's just, you know, there's only so much, or at least give us a warning so we can close our windows ahead of time.
Yeah,
You know,
like I
at
would
least,
appreciate that, or like
yeah,
Lysol spray or something. You know, like
anything to warn us ahead of time. You know, just because like it would be like me doing that. You know, I don't
Yeah.
and I'm very conscious of that. Like I mean, I had an incident last week, and I almost killed my brother because of it. So he's been making a lot of pasta, and I think he must have gotten a little bit of oil on the grill,
oh
part
no.
of it. And I had no idea. So I went to heat up a pot for making some. I had a weird craving for a hot dog and beans. So I cooked the hot dog on the pan first, and I was just going to throw the beans on. And when I went to throw the beans on, that's when it lit up because a little bit of the juice kind of fell onto the grill.
And poof,
But-
you had no eyebrows.
Not no eyebrows, but like that whole pan, you know, the whole element lit up.
Yeah.
You know, so I turned off the
Ooh.
machine, and I took the pot and took it with me to the bathroom, and I grabbed I have a huge cup, so I filled it with water, and I poured, you know, I went back out and poured it on it, made sure it was out, and I was just like, what the hell did he do? And I mean, I thank God I managed to, you know, clean it up and fix it, but I was just like, Chris spills stuff and he doesn't clean it, and I don't know. And I haven't been eating a lot of hot foods. Like I just, with my system being weird, I've been eating more like cold foods. Like if I can have like a salad or yogurt or like, you know,
I've been doing that as well. Sandwiches and yogurt. I'm still eating my way through the Activia that I just bought in bulk when I found it on sale for $2, and I was just like, "Ooh, $2! Yes, please."
well, it's just it, you know. Like you know, sometimes I do want hot food. Like, I mean, it is kind of the time of year where, like, you know, sometimes sitting down with a hot chili or especially chili, sometimes pasta, you know, something hot and filling is nice. But like, I'm trying to stay away from pasta, you know, like because it is a lot of
Carbs.
sugar.
Yeah.
That's not to say that I won't have some, but like if I have some, like that's a small portion. It's not worth it for me to make that. And then when my brother makes it, he makes so much of it that it turns me off of eating it. Like the way he makes it is gross too.
Fair enough. Also, sorry to cut you off here.
Yeah.
But is Random American your version of Peter Almond?
I'm starting to believe that.
Yeah, because the amount of puns is unreal.
Well, he you know what? He's got some competition sometimes because he and Cryptic and Shio will like go off each other.
Oh, so you've got 3 Peter Almonds.
Yeah. Well, you got to
2
understand that
Peter Almonds and a Cryptic.
you got to understand that when you compare the population of North America and like the UK, you got an awful lot of Peter Almonds down here.
Fair enough. Well, to be fair, you've got an awful lot of Peter Almonds here as well, so, you know.
Yes, yeah. A three-peat.
There you
Peter's
go again with the
including himself.
goddamn puns.
That sounds
Yeah.
like a bad porno title. 3 Peats.
Oh, God. But yeah,
Random?
that's what it seems like, because he...
Go sit in the corner. You can keep the spider company. His name is
He's-
Edgar. He's got Wi-Fi.
Ooh.
Different
So
Pete.
there. Let me guess, he's going to be a web designer? Great.
Edgar.
Great.
He's working on it. He's got enough people there. He's gonna pick up something.
Beat that one, random.
Isn't it oh god, that was so funny. Isn't it an autistic spider? Yeah.
So wait, I'm a spider now?
No.
No, Edgar's the spider.
Ah, fair enough.
And Edgar is very disappointed that you are assuming his identity and his spectrum diagnoses. He says, "Get off Google," and he's cutting off your Wi-Fi. So that's it. No Wi-Fi for you. There you go.
Aw, sad face.
When someone is so unimpressed with you that he cuts off your internet.
Edgar the Spider takes no prisoners. He paid for that internet. He shares it accordingly.
Yeah, honestly,
go
the
for
only like we should be talking about news, and the only thing I can think of to bring up is this this strike thing that's still going on with these inheritor indigenous people. And I don't have any articles. Like I could look up one, but you know what? It's probably going to be the same one that Functional read last week because it's the same story. It's these basically white bitches claiming to be natives.
Of course it is.
Oh God.
I'm
So
not
what,
saying
you
they're
have
not.
little
I'm
Liz
not saying they're
Warren?
not. I'm not saying they're not because they probably do have some native blood to them. But it's one of those things where, like, you are barely native. You've sold yourself out to basically a
Western
corporate.
society.
It's a different corporate, but it's still a corporate. I hate to break it to you. Just because your corporate is leaning more towards communism doesn't mean it's not a corporate. They're basically making it worse for their own people, is what they're doing. Because these people need the infrastructure. They need the infrastructure. They need the ability to get their own fish.
Mm-hmm.
They're tired of waiting for handouts. And I don't want them to get handouts anymore. I would like them to have autonomy so that they can have freedom.
Yes.
I want them to be free of a tyrannical government that we are living under. I am tired of them being treated like shit because they're native. I'm sick of it because they're doing it to them too. They are absolutely doing it to them too.
But
Sorry. It makes me mad. Go ahead.
Don't worry.
That was my
But-
that was my Jen's ranting monkey rant.
I think I think when you said about the companies being more communist, I think this just goes to something else a lot deeper.
Mhm.
And that is the left nowadays are a lot more corporatist than the left of yesteryear.
Mhm.
Like when you notice some of the actions of the left, you think, are they really communists or are they corporatists?
Because they're moving money, they're moving people.
It's mostly because most of the things that they support are often more beneficial to corporations than it is to people.
Yeah, moving their companies to other countries so they don't have to pay the tax dollars, but you're going to tax the people.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that.
That does happen.
Remember, because corporations are just like people; they have feelings.
It's
Well, they do, but it depends on how much you fuck with their money.
it's this point where
That's true.
I'm sorry to the uppers, but your chess pieces are tired of this. We are tired of this. I am not a chess piece. I'm a human being. I'm tired of the media pitting people against people. I've encountered a couple of Asians today, and yes, I smiled my ass at them, and yes, they are nervous. Do you know why they're nervous? Because the media is feeding them lies. The media is telling people that everyone is freaking out. I'm like, no, most people are concerned. Like, yes, if I thought you were sick, I would be nervous. But you know what? You could have the cold and I would still be nervous. I don't want to get the cold.
Oh yeah,
But
I
Yeah, nobody wants to be sick. It
nobody wants
fucking
to sit with
sucks.
anything.
but today, like, I encountered 2 Asian people and I did what I normally do. I just treat everyone the same and I give them a bright smile and I say hello. You're selling me pot. What else am I going to do, right? Other than smile at you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
when I go to my doctor's appointments, if I see people in a mask, yeah, I keep my distance.
Yeah.
But I don't like make a show out of it. I
But
just
it's
will,
a lot of
like
it's out of
walk in
concern
the other
too.
direction. Yeah.
Do you know what? If I did encounter someone who had coronavirus, I would be horrified on their behalf before I would be on my own.
Oh
Because,
no, I'm the
like,
sort of guy that's every man for himself. I'd be shitting myself
I get
immediately.
that, Arms Killer. Like, don't get me wrong. I would be definitely edging away too afterwards. But my first thought would be like, oh my god, I don't know how I can help somebody in that situation.
Oh,
I'm
that's exactly it.
I cannot help you. That's the only thing that's going through my head is I wish there was something I can do, and I can't. The only thing I can do is to keep myself from being a danger to other people by keeping myself safe.
Mhm.
And the thing is my parents are elderly. I can't greet them if I get sick. I might be able to pass through it and be okay. I mean, might struggle with it. Maybe I could die. I'm certainly not in the greatest age group for it.
Well,
And my
considering
lungs
the
certainly,
news, yeah, don't fucking know. So
like that's why, it's one of the reasons why I do want to quit smoking. Like I said, my brother and I didn't do too bad. I don't feel bad about having the smokes that we have because, we'll start over again and keep going.
Mhm.
But like I do want to repair my lungs a little bit, and
Yeah.
once I get the gummies going, I'll be a lot better. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't mind the odd joint or something. But if I have the gummies as an alternative, in the long run, it's probably better for me to just...
Oh, the edibles. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
definitely go with those. But yeah, no, my next step, probably next month, is I'm going to go to a proper vape store and I'm going to be getting like a good vaping rig. I have a device, but I don't have a proper tank. I need new batteries, charger, the juice, and I know what that's going to cost me because I'm not going to go I don't go like half-ass with that stuff. I'm going to go to the the quality vape stores, because I know that the damage that people are talking about is from the jewels. That's the cheap store stuff.
Yeah.
But if you get the decent rig and you get the proper batteries that are wrapped properly, that are like that, people who don't vape don't realize that. Like whenever I hear stories of people whose vapes caught on fire, exploded, I know it's because they did not. They used either a bad battery charger, they used cheap knockoff batteries that weren't wrapped properly or were past their expiration date. They did something stupid as hell, like kept it in their jeans pocket where they should have kept it in a bag, or like
so it warmed up.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's one of those things like you just shouldn't be doing it. It's kind of like
basic rules of
and the real
electronics.
retards that were mixing the two, who were mixing the pot with the vape.
Oh yeah, you never mix the CBD. Once you put CBD in a tank, consider that tank now completely ruined. You can never put vape juice in with the CBD or juice. And I do know a store downtown in Toronto that does sell the CBD juice. I have to say, though, to be quite honest, it was very ineffective, and I spent a whole lot of money on a whole lot of nothing when I did get it. So that kind of ruined that device. But
I have vaped from some that were good, but the guys who were doing it were long-term pot users. So like these are the guys who know that shit. These are the guys who would tell me, do not mix these two. Do not ever mix these two. Do not do this. Do not do this. Because they'd done the effort to study the chemicals. Here's the thing. It's a running gag within the pot community. You really know what your potheads are, what their level of intelligence they are at. Take away their pipes. Next, take away their lighter. Guaranteed they'll figure out a way.
Yeah. Matches.
Sure.
Take away the matches.
No.
They'll just use a rock.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
Desperate people, desperate measures. I mean, that's the number of people that I found, bumming, not smokes, but they'll bum a lighter, they'll bum matches, they'll bum whatever they can off you outside of like a grocery store or a movie theater or something like that. People are,
Well, it's not even just that. Like I knew kids who would rig up their stove.
Ah, yes, and the barbecue lighters. Oh, the number of people I've seen with barbecue lighters, and every time I see someone
that's so
pull
dangerous
out one of those barbecue lighters, and I have seen a functional do this with a barbecue lighter before, but he's a pro, so I'm not worried about him setting himself on fire. If I tried to do that, I would definitely be worried that I would set myself on fire. But just because you can never tell the distance from the flame. Like I had the little torch one for a bong, and when I ran out of lighters, that's all we had, so we were using this thing, and I mean, you flip it on and holy crap, we're talking like at least like a 2-inch flame that was like shooting out of the damn thing. I mean, you were lucky, like it would literally roast half your cigarette before you could get to it. So
You know what?
Well, at least you're
You
not
know
doing
what?
it over
I
the
could
hole.
literally see kids back in the day having, because back in the day, the science classes had those old flint and tinder
Oh yes, the
things.
Bunsen burner things.
Yeah,
Yes.
to just light up a little spark, because you don't need to spark. Well, yeah, actually, you could literally do that. A magnifying glass,
And you had
a bag with a little bit of water,
yeah, and you had that
put it on a
rubber
cigarette,
tube.
and then you monkey butt it.
Yeah, that rubber tube that was all between you and the gas when you were in chemistry class. I remember that, and I remember thinking, how old is this rubber tube? And how much gas is escaping into the classroom right now?
used, Elwin.
Yeah.
A lot, considering the amount of fags that were probably shoved down it.
Well, I do have a funny story about this. When I was at U of T, we were crossbreeding fruit flies, and what we had to do was go under like the they have this kind of a hood, like a fumigation hood, and what we were supposed to be doing is basically using chloroform and our ether, I guess, and sedating these fruit flies, and then you're supposed to be for a genetics experiment, which always went horribly wrong because massive amounts of fruit flies would escape, and for the rest of the year everyone was dealing with fruit flies. But the problem was there was a problem with the gas leak, and it basically wound up pretty much chloroforming the entire lab group. So we were all walking around after, like walking into walls and doors and everything else. So we wound up pretty much gassing ourselves, which was highly entertaining.
And that was the origin story of Madame Chloroform.
Yes, it was actually. That is actually where that joke comes from, is because I have been chloroformed before, and I did it to myself, and that's why it really hurts. I did it to myself. Either that or my lab
Note to
partner
self:
did it
don't
to
do
me.
the red chloroform joke.
Yeah. For me, it was my
Does it
first
smell like chloroform to you? No.
my first Safeway, and the closing manager there was one of my friends. And the thing is he liked to do the final announcement from the floral department because he had the helium tank there. I mean, he didn't do it from the helium tank, mind you. He did use a balloon. Like, he just reused the same balloon, but he would always just like wind up and, all right, folks, and he'd do his spiel, and that was it. It's like, okay. And sometimes he'd come around with the balloon and be like, hey, do you guys want a shot? And I'd be like, no thanks.
Helium whippets are the best. So.
Oh, he was great. I liked him.
Yeah, I'm just going to address something that all you need said is when it comes down to it, pot is edible. Yes, it is. However, most people make the mistake of not realizing the way it metabolizes in the body.
Mhm.
And they'll be like, well, it's been 30 minutes. I don't feel anything. I'm going to eat some more. No. That's not what you do. You wait, like you have to wait at least an hour. And then when you feel it kicking in, then you can tell whether or not you take a little bit more. You take a little bit more. You eat the whole brownie, and you will melt into your couch, and you will be out of commission for a good 8 hours.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about edibles is it's not like an instant contact high because of the way that it is absorbed into your bloodstream, because it has to go through the digestive system. So it takes a lot longer. And most people taking edibles for the first time do not realize this, and will either and they'll pretty much eat too much and either get sick or have a bad experience from it. So just a public service announcement for people trying edibles for the first time. Go in, like, cut it into like small portions, and just like, and that's how you do there. Oh yeah, all you's clearly already been through that. So
I don't know why, but
I think everyone does.
The conversation of weed and Jen's story. Now imagine if the helium balloon was passed around like a joint.
I've known he
pass
tried
the
to.
balloon. Pass
He
it.
tried to.
Well,
I mean,
I was just gonna say there's something called a volcano, which is it's basically like a giant bong that just keeps giving, kind of like a giant balloon.
Yeah.
And you get trapped in this. What you're supposed to do is you put like a little tent in your room, and you hotbox it, and you just have this volcano thing just consistently spewing out, like as much as you can possibly take in. So very similar to what a balloon would do. Or a helium tank.
Huh.
That's the balloon.
See, like the stuff that potheads have come up with, you have to have at least a little bit of respect for that. Even if you don't respect the stuff, I get that. You don't have to like the drug. It is. I do still consider it a drug, even if it's not considered that by others. But
caffeine is a drug, so
it is a drug.
Yeah.
I consider sugar to be a drug, but as long as I'm not abusing it, which I'm not. Like, I mean, I've also gone 2 weeks without a joint, so having a little bit. Actually, that's not a bad thing to do every once in a while, especially like it's one thing for like you and functional, because functional uses it for his pain.
Yeah, that's for me as well. It's just now it's I need to focus more on the oils, just because the smoking is very harsh on my lungs. So he's got a higher tolerance to that than I do. So
I like the way it calms me down a lot. Go ahead, Arms Killer.
I was gonna say I forgot what I was gonna say. Shit.
I was saying it was harsh on my lungs, and that's when you were coming in.
Like, as it is, I'm easy to motor mouth, and it's also easy for me to get really hyped up. And it's one of those things where I was never this high strung as a kid, but getting older, it is something that I've noticed. And I like that pot helps me mellow that out. Now, don't get me wrong, I still do that on my own anyway. Like, I don't want to be a stoner all the time to deal with that. It's nice to take a break from being that.
Yeah.
And that
cannabis makes me irritable, which is why I don't like it. It just makes me feel irritable.
Yeah, there's certain things that do that. Like, I had a doctor once prescribe me Xanax, which is supposed to be like, the ultimate chill pill. It did the complete opposite to me. It just made me just feel nauseous and just irritable and anxious, and did everything that it was not supposed to do. So it had the complete opposite effect, which weirded me out, because it's in the same family medications that I'm already prescribed. So I was like, well, it's just a stronger version. No, apparently not. It did not sit well. So it really does depend on the compound and how it fits in with your metabolism.
Yeah.
So and let's not forget, all strains of weed are
very different.
Very different.
And depending on where you're buying from and whatever, the quality is different. So
my quality ain't that good. It's like I'm looking forward to this month, because I'm going to have just a little bit more money, because I haven't spent any this month other than my tips.
Oh, dear God, Duck Dog has eaten 40 milligrams of THC candies.
Woo!
Dude, how long were you sunk into that couch?
You got knocked the fuck out, man.
Yeah, like I'm thinking he became one with his couch.
I'm thinking he still is a couch.
He might.
Just as he walks, all you hear is.
I'm a couch.
For the record, Duck Dog, because of you and Cryptic's kindness and the kindness I got from Shio, I managed to procure some smokes, which I'm very grateful for. I am going to keep trying to quit, but I needed that little break, because the mental and the physical were like a little bit too much. And I don't have a problem with taking a break if I need to. It's just, as long as I keep going with it, I know I'll do it. Because getting this far, like I'm almost up to the full 2 weeks. Like, I have 1 day left. I thought about trying for the next day, but I was just like, you know what? I really want them for this stream. Having one during the stream is just so nice. And and then I was listening to Monkey before the stream started. I was like, yeah, sure enough, he's lit up like 4 of them.
He does the pre-rolled ones, which are very different, which
Yes.
is interesting because
Mhm.
I got the whole like I went out and I bought like one of those really good expensive hand crank machines, and I thought finally I figured it out. I know how to do this, and wouldn't you know it, the tubes. I think it might be the filter or it might be the tobacco, but honestly, I went back to the packs because that stuff was killing me. I thought I was gonna just like cough up a lung. Like I don't know how functional is doing it with that because the hand rolled stuff that was just destroying me, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Because if anything, it should be lighter on my lungs. It was definitely not lighter on my lungs. So it's I don't know. It's one of those things.
Like yeah, that's basically where I'm at. It's like I have really two choices. It's like either I keep smoking or I don't. And I do legit want to quit. That's the thing. It's
Mhm.
it's basically hypnotizing yourself as you go, you know? And the longer I go, like if next month I can go 3 weeks without having a smoke, or at least get close to like the full 3 weeks like I did this time, then I'm almost there. You know, I know that the struggle is almost over, and just
Mhm.
a little bit more of a nudge and I'll get there. So go ahead,
That's
Arm Killer.
just it, you know. Trying to go cold turkey immediately will screw you over big time.
Yeah, well, it'll mess with your metabolism. It will mess with
It's because
it'll mess with
it's
everything.
yeah, it's because your body is so used to smoking smokes
Mhm.
that the withdrawal. That's why withdrawal effects are a thing,
Well,
because that's your body trying to adjust to the sudden lack of
Yeah.
a substance.
it's like that with anything. Like someone like functionally drinks a lot of Coca-Cola, and he does. Whereas I drink a lot of ginger ale, but even then, if I was going to like stop ginger ale and switch to juice or something like that, I would be the same process with anything like caffeinated and stuff like that. You do have to cut back. You can't just stop it and not expect to have like massive headaches and other things. It's the same with cutting off sugar. And like if you're saying, I'm going to give up sugar, yeah, enjoy that one because you will be feeling it. If you are someone who eats like a lot of carbs or a lot of stuff like that and suddenly stop, you will definitely feel that. Which is why if you've ever seen the show Survivor, they had that. I remember watching it a long
And
time.
willpower.
Yeah, when they would they'd basically be eating nothing, and then suddenly they give them like, oh, for a treat you get like a bacon double cheeseburger,
Ooh.
Yeah,
and
that fucks them up.
yeah, and then you see the next scene is somebody in the bushes throwing up, and it's because
They're
your
not so
body has to
used to
work
such a
up to it.
sudden intake.
Yeah, it's either sudden intake or sudden decrease. Like
Yeah,
when I was first trying to quit smoking, I went and I said, okay, I think what I should probably do is instead of like the 3 milliliters or milligrams of nicotine in the vape juice, I'll get the 6. That was a mistake. I wound up actually getting nicotine poisoning from it,
Ooh.
mild, but I didn't realize that. And I realized, no, I have to stick with the 3 because, yeah, if you go up or you go down too fast in anything, you're going to feel it. It's the same thing as people who eat a lot of cheese because cheese releases a lot of the endorphins and all that stuff. If they suddenly cut that off completely, you are definitely going to feel that. If you
Yeah.
are a regular eater of something like that, that is giving you that little boost, that little
Yeah.
endorphins.
Yeah.
And
That's-
cheese is very addictive.
That's why I'm not going to necessarily quit cheese. But the thing is with me, I've never really been addicted to it because I could go months without eating cheese. And then all of a sudden I have a craving for cheese. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'll go and buy cheese. And then I'll have a little bit of cheese every day for that week. And I'll usually eat it with fruit because that's what I was told, like cheese with fruit in your stomach, a couple of hours before you have your main meal is a good way to get some bacteria going. And that's how I've always treated, cheese. But yet again, like I won't buy cheese again for like maybe another couple months. I'm like that with everything. Like I've gone years without buying bread because I just didn't want to eat bread. That's not to say I didn't have like flour. I just didn't want loaves of bread. So I didn't buy loaves of bread. I didn't buy wraps. I might have cereal, the odd cereal.
Okay, so
But
it wasn't a gluten thing. It was just like you just didn't
want
to
it.
do the bread. Okay,
Yeah, just not in the mood for it.
yeah.
just did not want it. And I've always been like that. Like, I'll have times where it's really weird with me. Like I will just lose my appetite for something entirely and I won't even think anything of it. And then all of a sudden I'll just think about it. Sometimes it'll be, something in a picture. I'll watch somebody eat something and be like, you know what? I think I might have one. And that's just how I've always been. But I don't really crave anything most of the time. And sometimes that's the smoking. But also it's just working in food for as long as I have. I always just ate what I made there.
Yeah.
All you need is horrified by the idea of no cheese.
Like we made
and no coffee as well.
We had hot soup there. We had like fresh salads. Sometimes I would have like a sandwich or something. Like I always knew what was made. So if it was a fresh salad, I knew I was going to get that fresh salad that day. Like I would actually make a little extra and be like, hey, I'm just making a little extra so I can buy some, and I was fully supported to do that because they're like, well, it's money for the company. And that's what I did. And I would take that food home with me. So I never really cooked at home because I was making food at work, and I would cook, you roast chickens there. So like maybe once a week I would buy a roast chicken. I got a chicken for a week, I did try their meatloaf, but honestly, I made jokes about making brick houses for a reason. And the paste is like ketchup in between the bricks. So like, that's what you described that one as. But they had a turkey, they had a couple of like hot meals that you could take home as a single person and use over a week.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was times where I would have pizza, but here's the thing, ladies, I've been single my whole life and I'm not cuckoo bananas. I don't hate men, but one pizza would last me like 2.5 days because I'm a single person. I'm not eating like large portions. It's not good food. No, it's not healthy, but like 3 slices of pizza. Moo.
Yeah. What I try to do with pizza to make it a little healthier for me. What I usually do is I do easy on the sauce, very easy on the cheese. I do double mushrooms, and I'll do like maybe for meat I'll do chicken or I'll do pepperoni, something like that. So I'm getting my veggies. I'm getting I try to do it as healthy as possible. Same with Chinese food. I'll try to do like beef and broccoli on steamed rice from a place that I know makes it so that the broccoli is just it's not like super like drenched in juice or anything. It's just very lightly kind of sauteed, very, very lightly without any major sauce or anything on it. So when I do takeout, I do try to pick like the healthier options. Like I'll try to do like wraps and stuff like that from like say Swiss Chalet or even from Harvey's. They have like a good like chicken wrap sandwich and stuff like that. Like I try to like I try to make it a little
I have
healthier.
Chinese food once a year. So when I have it, I go all the way. I'm like, you know what? Ginger beef me. Yep. I know you're not genuine Chinese food ginger beef, but you know what? You taste pretty good. And you know what? I'll have some dumplings too. But I don't eat a lot of dumplings because those are filler, for the record. I mean, at least if you're getting Chinese food. They are good. Like if I'm going to really go for dumplings, I'm just going to eat them as dumplings because that's what's going to fill me. But not if you're getting full Chinese food. And then you have beef broccoli. So there is vegetables in beef broccoli. So that one's not too bad, but legit not real Chinese food because I don't think they really have broccoli.
Yeah, the places that I go to, I tend to vet them because for
But it
me,
tastes good.
I grew up in a very oriental area. Actually, if anyone wants to know when SARS hit Canada and touched down in Toronto, the epicenter, that's a block away from where I grew up.
Beef broccoli is good. Change my mind, Cryptic. I mean, don't get me wrong. It really depends on the cook too, though. Like, because some people use like shit meat, and you know it.
Yeah.
And that makes a huge difference. But like I've had places where they had really nice cuts of meat in it. Yeah. And like I said, I don't think of it as like legit Chinese food, but you know what? It tastes good. So what?
That's exactly it with me and food. if it tastes nice and it feels nice in my mouth,
Mhm.
you know, as sure as shit, I'm gonna eat it.
You know, um,
There's
But
a
yeah.
dirty joke in there somewhere, but
There is,
I'm
yeah.
not
Yeah.
gonna go for it. I'm just
I
gonna
know
wait for
it.
it to show
But-
up in chat.
but on the other hand,
And
I
I
missed,
know of a joke. Don't
I
worry
missed
about
a
it.
proper chance to try some better real Chinese food. Like, don't get me wrong, I do like real Chinese food too. It's just I had an opportunity to go to a really good dim sum place, especially in Calgary. Like it's like the number one restaurant for it, and I couldn't make that day. So I missed my chance to go, and it was just like that's the time you want to go because then you have somebody to tell you what it is that you're eating.
Yeah.
Because I have no problems with trying stuff. I just want to know what it is. Like even if it's something I've never tried before, I might hesitate. I would never eat bad. I'm sorry.
Best comfort food ever is congee. It's basically
Yes.
like it's like
No.
like oatmeal or but it's
Yeah.
not. It's rice, but they've got
Yeah.
it, if you get it with corn and chicken and stuff like that, it is so comforting. And if it's done traditionally, and when I say traditionally, it means like if you can't read the menu, you're in the right place. Like I legitimately mean this. Growing up where I did, where you couldn't read the menu, so I knew that the food was.
Probably not the best advice for blind people, though.
No, if you ask, yeah, but if you ask, someone will explain it to you, and you always have the tea. And actually, I made the point of asking about the tea, and it's either oolong or jasmine, and apparently those are the best digestive teas. So for people out there who are trying to lose weight and they want to know what to incorporate into their diet, oolong tea and jasmine tea helps you digest the food properly, and will it helps sort of settle your stomach, but also aids in digestion, so it doesn't get like too fatty and stuff like that. It kind of like helps break up the fats and whatnot. And so if you're looking to invest in anything, that's a good
It's
thing to
actually
do.
an interesting thing. I've also seen them do, Elwin, and I'm not meaning to interrupt you, but it's along the same lines. I've seen a lot of them use vinegar when they're eating fatty foods. Like they'll add a little vinegar to like a fatty soup, or if they're eating something that's very meaty, that's when they have like their pickled vegetables.
Yeah, apple
Because it's got-
cider vinegar and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that. Yeah, people who drink apple cider vinegar, that's supposed to be something that is good for the digestive system. Same with lemon juice, hot lemon juice, or lemon ginger tea, or something like that for digestion. It's very, very good for your body overall, because you get your water intake, but you also get like the tea benefits, and it also gives you digestive benefits. So, and it tends to be fairly inexpensive when you're going to the grocery store. You just pick up some. I don't want to butcher it because I know it's the British tea, Twinings, I believe it is. Arms color. It's Twinings tea. I call it Twinnings, but I know it's Twinings. That's a good brand, and it's very, very good.
I'm gonna quickly search it up because it sounds familiar, but can't exactly picture it.
Yeah,
Well,
I think Peter corrected me on it
we've
before.
we've got a few teas, but like I actually knew an Asian. Well, she was Chinese because the place I worked at was half Western, half Chinese. She actually didn't even bother with the tea. She just put ginger and lemon in hot water every morning, and she would just sip that all morning, and then she would just refill it with hot water, and she'd just keep drinking that.
Yeah, and Cryptic conferred. Yeah, it is oolong. Yeah, like some places, if they're
I've had it.
big, they'll do
It's-
jasmine, but
yeah.
oolong is the better tea. And there's different. If you go to a proper tea place, there's different pricings for the oolong tea. You can get the like cheap brand, and then it goes up to like the $60 tea. So yeah,
Jesus Christ, just for tea.
Yeah, it's how the leaves are
Ground.
processed and whatnot. Yeah, like I said, like where I grow up, like when I go to my parents, if I go to like the shops around there, there's a lot of Oriental shops, and so that's where if you want like good tea, if you want like good authentic Chinese food, that's the place to get it. And yeah,
I admit I like the bergamot in Earl Grey because it reminds me of Fruit Loops.
Ooh.
Let's just say, I think to expand on the advice of if you can't read the menus, If their accent is barely understandable, then you're at a good restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Usually I kind of go by the pictures and I'll ask, and usually somebody there will have at least enough English that they'll kind of be able to sort of direct me to what I
Yeah.
want. But if I don't know what it is, yeah, I'm probably not gonna. But I tend to know what I like. Like there's like these little it's like a cooked barbecue pork, but it's in a like a rice wrap thing, and it's supposed to be an appetizer. But honestly, you eat like four, you're pretty full. And I've been able to get a meal at Conji Queen, which is the restaurant that I love to death, for we're talking like a meal that where you will have enough for yourself, probably another person, and the next day's over for a good like $12.
Mhm.
Like, and to me, that's some good pricing right there. Though it does make tipping very hard because how do you tip on a $12 meal? It's kind of like, because you feel cheap because when you do the calculations, it's like, it comes out to like $2 for a tip. And that seems kind of cheap. But the meal was only $12. So,
That's probably where I associate it from Duck Dog. Like it's one of those things where like I do have both a very strong sense of taste and sense of smell. It's one of those things where I'm kind of grateful for the fact that most of the time I'm stuffy anyway because something has set off my allergies, because I smell everything like 100%. Like there are places that I cannot go because if I smell it, it makes me sick because it's so strong. So it's like soap stores. Like I'm one of those people that goes into a soap store and I'm
Lush must be
carrying
horrible for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm carrying a cup of like coffee in front of my nose so that I can kind of clear it out a little bit. And then I'm running out because, and I wasn't always like that. It's just my system changed, and that's just how it is now.
Well, oddly, coffee is actually the thing because if you've ever gone to some place that sells perfume, which you probably wouldn't have, but I mean, I've if you're sensitive, but I have before, and what they'll do is before you smell something else, they get you to smell coffee grounds,
Yeah.
like coffee beans, because it immediately will clear out whatever you were smelling before, so then you can get a sense of what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, functional is very sensitive to things like to the point where like I was just using the Vaseline intensive care, but it was the like cocoa butter or whatever, and it was
That's
setting
nice.
off his allergies something horrifically, so I had to switch to the unscented one because I don't want to kill him.
Yeah.
So it's just
It's
one of those
never
things.
anything personal either. It's
No.
just whatever sets it off, and it's
Certain
not every
people,
it's
certain
it's not
scents.
every smell either. Like it's just certain smells are just like nope.
Yeah.
It's a terror on the bus because sometimes it's not the
Oh,
person's fault. Like sometimes it is. Like there are people there where you're like, okay, I mean, I get maybe you've had a hard day or something, but like,
or the kid that's bathed in Axe, pretty much like
Yeah.
literally
I
like
hate that.
bathed in Axe,
Yeah.
and that just chokes me right up. Like, I mean, I have to
or the
immediately
ones who
remove
do
myself
both
from that.
at the same time.
Yeah, they mix the smells, or the women that come on and they literally have just drenched themselves in perfume, and it's just like I'm dying. Like I can feel my throat closing.
And the worst thing is if they've taken out most of the windows in our trains.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yes.
Oh, hello,
It-
Dax.
They're like, well, you have air conditioning. You don't need windows. And we're like, the windows are for the smells. Thank you very much. But yeah, no, there's been a few times where I've just chosen to walk. I'm really lucky that my city is kind of like a box inside of a box inside of a box. So like getting anywhere
Boxception.
is really not that difficult. Not to say that I would walk around the whole city because it's too fucking big. Like I would be walking for at least a good 3 or 4 days to get around my city. But my area I'm close enough to everything that like I can walk for 2-3 hours and be fine and come home. I don't do that kind of shit very often anymore, but like that's kind of my plan for this summer is to like do it anyway.
It would be nice if I could get back to that, but
Mm.
right now, yeah, I can't go very far because the pain will like
Yeah.
'cause I do struggle with fibromyalgia, and the pain in my joints will get me pretty quick. But I've been reasonably lucky. For some reason, Uber keeps sending me all these like $5-6 off rides to the point where it's often to get to the grocery store, it's cheaper than public transit. So I'm like, well, I am totally fine with this. So,
I
yeah.
don't think they're, they might know that about you, and that's kind of nice on their behalf.
Mhm.
And that's kind of fucking scary.
It is.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're thinking about something and you tell someone, and all of a sudden, like ads for that ad start like popping up on Facebook or whatever,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's kind of like, is my phone listening to me?
Deep state.
Yes.
It's like, at least, it's a nice gesture, but that's still a little, that's a little creepy.
Mhm.
But
'Cause
at
I
the same
think
time, though, like,
he still gets the promos. That's the thing, because I've asked him a couple of times, and he's like, "No, I haven't gotten the promos." I'm like, I don't know. Maybe all my medical appointments is just maybe rack up like Uber favors or something. I don't know.
well, they might keep track of you, because like the thing is even with businesses, like, if you get similar drivers or like they get your phone call, like over time, they do kind of keep track.
Yeah, like
and
a loyalty bonus.
and sometimes they catch on. It's one of those little humanity things. Like maybe it was on a personal level. The driver is like, you know what, maybe this girl's having a situation because I'm.
Actually, I just realized what it probably is. I'm one of the people that always gives 5 stars to every driver, and I know that they also rate you. So I have a feeling that what's happened is over time,
Yeah.
because I constantly give 5 stars unless something happened. Like I was in an Uber once where the guy scraped another car. So yeah, that one did not get
Obviously
5
not a high
stars.
rating for that.
Yeah, and another one, yeah, like
Fucker could have killed you.
Yeah, and the other time, the guy basically tried to tack on somebody's $60 ride to my bill, and I just absolutely lost it. And
Pretty sure that's illegal.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
I found the Uber the little hidden Uber support page that nobody can find. I found it by chance just by clicking on random things, and I used a whole bunch of legal jargon about like theft, extortion, and a whole bunch of other things in my little and I got that money back. But
Question for you there, Ellen.
mhm.
What was the rating of the guy that tried to put an exorcism on you?
He was genuinely a nice guy, so I gave him the 5 stars just because he didn't he wasn't malicious. He was just
Ill-informed.
yeah, he was just creepy, and I wish I could say that was the first time that had happened, but
Wait,
it wasn't.
hold on.
I've had 3 separate people try to exercise or like spiritually heal me on an Uber ride because I made the mistake of taking an Uber back from the hospital because I mean that's kind of like the best way to get home.
Fuck it
And
out.
yeah, and it was
People
all
are
a
fucking
bunch of
mental.
religious zealots, and I didn't know it till I get into the car, and the first thing that they ask is, are you visiting family? I'm like, oh no, I just had an appointment. Oh, well, Jesus can help you. Oh, here we go again. And yeah, not one exorcism, not two, but three exorcisms.
3.
Yeah.
The fact that you know how the conversation's exactly like the exact wording to the possible conversation. Oh yeah.
That
So
sounds
it's
like
you
a
and your-
chapter in your area.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is this you? Are you going to see family? Yes.
Yeah, that's when I realized that I needed to switch it up. Because
More like-
yeah,
Sorry.
because once
It's
was coming
just-
back from a pharmacy late at night where I had to pick up some medication, and they're like, "Oh, are you not feeling well?" And I made the mistake of saying,
Random,
not great."
Random says, consider the real possibility that you have a demon in you.
Holy sweet Jesus.
She's making peace with it, so you know. He pays rent.
Oh, at
Hey.
least he's paying rent. The fucking cheapskate.
Well, if it's a demon, then it's a demon that likes to do laundry and everything else, so he can stay.
Aw, see, there you go. Pays the rent somehow.
Yeah. So
Oh, okay, Doctor. Jesus Christ.
yeah, no, I've never actually chased any. I have pretended to not be there when I've seen them come near the door. I will admit to hiding from Jehovah's Witnesses. Mormons, I usually get stuck in public transit with, and that just becomes an awkward conversation. I got stuck on a subway car with a whole bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses, or sorry, Mormons, hardcore Mormons, like not Latter-day Saints, but hardcore Mormons that were up from the deep south visiting Toronto. And that's who I got stuck with in very close quarters on a subway train that had a delay. And so I wound up having to have this conversation with this incredibly overly bubbly little blonde, Georgia, like girl from Georgia, who was just like on fire for the Lord. And it was just one of the most entertaining experiences. But given that my uncle who recently passed was a Baptist minister, I kind of learned a little bit on how to deal with them. I know enough about like Bible phrases and things like that. So, like they're sort of like, oh, she's chill. We don't have to, like push too hard or anything like that. So I just
they function as a Jew, then they'll move.
Oh no, then they'll push harder. Then they'll push harder.
That was actually quite a complex for me growing up, because like I legit had that conversation with myself at 13 where I was sitting there about ready to start like doing a prayer, and I'm like, I feel like a moron. I just feel like a complete moron. I am talking to myself, to an empty room, to my pillow, to a bed. There is nobody there. This is like worse than Santa Claus, because I know Santa Claus is a lie, because they told me he was a lie.
Oh, well, hey, at least you didn't come to the conclusion of, or at least you decided that you weren't religious at the age of 8. You not.
You were lucky. And the thing is, I wasn't really that religious before. It was more of like, it just kind of occurred to me that I wasn't, because like my parents hadn't really taken us to church after the age of 6. Because they didn't have time, and they were like, you know what, your church can be your own castle, and that was what my dad believed. And then he also believed that like my brother and I should have the opportunity to choose for ourselves if we wanted to, because who's to decide what God is, which is the real God? Yeah. And so for me, it was just, if I don't believe in Santa Claus, and if I don't believe in the imaginary people on TV, unless it's like the news, because sometimes the news legit scared me, because that was the news. It meant it was real life, which is what's scary now, because you're like, that's not real life.
I consider myself, a healthy agnostic, in that I'm keeping my options open, but I'm not placing any bets. It's kind of like when you're playing, is it craps, where you basically, as if you put on black, 9 times your odds go up, because it's basically like a 50-50 shot that it's one or the other. So that's the only gambling I've ever done. I think I spent all of $5 in a casino at one point when I lived in Niagara Falls. But I consider myself healthily agnostic, whereas I'm not putting my
the thing where I can't say that I would be more leaning towards agnostic, because the thing is I don't know that I don't believe in like the possibility of something, not necessarily God, but like, it's just like, whenever I think about certain stories, it goes back to like the weirdest thing that I can think of is like, if you know anything about Alberta, you've heard of Crow's Nest Passing, and Crow's Nest Passing is this little town close to the border where half a mountain collapsed on half of a town. and there were no survivors under that because like there's nothing there. They're gone. And I knew about the story. I just had forgotten where the location was because like it wasn't actually discussed in school. It was one of those things like you might see it in a historical moment, you know, on the TV commercial, or like if you got lucky and you went to a heritage shop, because like most of the little towns have little heritage shops where you can get a book.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
But you know, my dad had been going back and forth through this town with me, you know, over the years, and every single time it just terrified the crap out of me. You know, and
made the hair on the back of your neck stand up, and you didn't know why, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I mean, that could just be the nature of it, because like everything would have died there, you know, not just the people in the village, but like anything that had been living on that mountain.
Trees, people, trees, animals, trees, people, animals.
Everything.
Bugs. Yeah.
Everything. You know, so like just the very nature of the destruction of it, obviously that's going to creep you out anyway. And honestly, even anyone going through that knows what I'm talking about, because it's just such massive boulders everywhere, and you just there's nothing else in sight. Obviously they've cleared the way, so there's a road, you know, but it's just, that's the nature of like real disasters like that. They, you know, but I don't doubt that there's that feeling of fear from the people that died, because that, like, what a way to go, you know, like no warning and bam.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the same feeling as going through Chernobyl.
Yeah.
The truthfully, the no feeling then bam thing, that's kind of like the way that I would like to go out. I don't want it to be any slow, drawn out thing. I just want, you know, like poof, lights out.
Yeah.
I want to be the last one to know. When I die, I want to be the last one to know.
Let's just say, if I was to die, if it isn't from old age,
such a dark, but sorry,
I'm dying and fighting.
You're gonna be like, don't you pull out that plug. I'm gonna hold on to this damn plug as long as I can, just so none of you suckers can get any of my money.
But
if a dude tried to mug me, I would probably be shot and killed, because I would probably try and kill the bastard.
But it really is kind of the truth of the matter. Is there are some places that you go where you just, for no reason whatsoever, you just feel uncomfortable, and sometimes you find out more about the history afterwards. But like at the same time, like I don't know anything about that. I just know that stuff happens, and maybe down the line there'll be science that's better at explaining it to me, other than like neural. I get that there's probably more of a psychological explanation to it, or maybe it's a chemical one.
Yeah, it could be a little bit of things. Like, I mean, I like, all my family is buried in Mount Pleasant, which is the biggest, I think it's the biggest cemetery in Canada, and it's in Toronto, and it's old, like we're talking very very old. And if you've ever been in there at night,
I know, right?
it will give you a little bit, like, there'll be weird things. Like, I once saw this random white-tailed deer just darting through, and it was the strangest thing, because, and this is pure coincidence, but at the same time it made me think twice, because I was trying to figure out, you know, I wanted to visit, you know, where my grandfather was buried and stuff like that. And as this deer goes by, I look over, and suddenly I'm where I'm supposed to be. And it was just like one of those whoa kind of moments where it was just like, that's one of those weird universal coincidences, which I truly believe it was a coincidence. But at the same time, it really kind of like, it took me back a little bit. I was kind of like, wow, that's kind of a weird thing to have happen. Just random white-tailed deer, like in the middle of downtown Toronto, in the middle of a cemetery, in the middle, you know, like I'm trying to find this random place in this giant, you know, labyrinth.
Yeah.
And poof, there it was.
And here I'm thinking,
Maybe it's your
Mount Pleasant
grandfather's.
and oh, sorry, you say Newf.
Oh,
Yeah, James
I was just
is
saying-
agnostic these. Yeah, it's one of those things, like I don't mind looking into the science of it, or even just like the wishy-washy part of it, because don't get me wrong, I don't want to knock on any of it. I often kind of think, like, what if it's just like a chemical imprint, like, you know, people from the past, chemical imprint.
Well, there's the law of thermodynamics, which you know, like, matter is neither created created nor
Nor
destroyed.
destroyed.
It simply changes form, which is why I actually do hold on to the agnostic line because of the law of thermodynamics. I mean, it's not a theory. It's a law, which means until something comes along, I mean, it's pretty much been proven and tested and proven and tested. So, I mean, it's a fact, and they're finding out new dimensions. And there's also so much about the brain that we don't understand. So there could be, and they have linked certain things like traumatic events. Like they did this with people who survived the concentration camps. They found generations down sort of cases of anxiety disorders that actually could be traced back almost genetically. It was almost imprinted through the experience, and they're still working on how that exactly works out because nobody's quite figured out how that works. But it's an actual thing that people are writing papers on and doing work on in terms of the fact that like trauma can be imprinted down through generations. So it's interesting to see what kind of information can be acquired or what kind of sort of just senses like why 5 generations down somebody is like so intent on going into the military. It's because their great grandfather was in the military, or it's one of those things where it's like nature nurture the whole. It's I don't know, science is very cool.
I'm not laughing at you, but I've had this weird idea in my head over the type of manga I've been seeing lately, and the way that they're geared and the age group that they're geared towards, and it's all about people dying, and then you're reborn, and then you're reborn as either a game character, or you're reborn as a princess in a new country, and you're just so super wonderful. You have a harem. You have superpowers. Go ahead.
I think this sounds very incredibly optimistic of me, but I like to think because of as Ellen said, the very law of thermodynamics. I like to think that we've all done everything at one point of this universe, as whatever happened to this universe.
I don't think you know the meme face on my face here, but I get the feeling that the Japanese are just secretly telling us to go kill ourselves.
Oh yeah, the Japanese might act. Well, to be fair, knowing the Japanese, they call us gaijin for a fucking reason.
Yeah. They just want people to stop coming in their damn forest to off themselves. That's what they want. They're like, please stop advertising our forest.
Stop hanging yourself.
Yeah, like seriously, we've got enough of a problem of it as it is without you making it a freaking tourist attraction for suicide. Like,
I'm getting a little bit of this on a fellow I listened to last night, and it's not entirely his fault because, admittedly, I'd taken some cough syrup because I thought I was getting a cold. And I believe his name is Raging Golden Eagle Guy, and he was on the Nick Rekieta show, and he'd made this comment.
Sorry, that name just sounds like some guy that drops.
Oh, he's a MGTOW. Oh, he's a MGTOW. He's not the worst of the MGTOW crowd. He's one of the few that I watch the occasional video of, and I don't feel like
crazy. This woman should fuck me now, MGTOWs.
Yeah, he's not that. I mean, like some stuff he says is exaggerated. And I don't like that about him a little bit. Like it would be one of those criticisms I would have is like,
Fair
listen,
enough.
Because a lot of what he's saying is true. It is true.
Yeah.
But he exaggerates it. And I'm like, listen, if you're doing that, then you are doing the same thing that the feminists are doing. I mean, you're not as bad. You're certainly not as bad because I can watch you. I can watch your stuff. I can tolerate what you're saying because I don't have a problem with the criticism because I actually like hearing that from your side because that allows me to look at it from my point of view and look at it from your point of view. And a lot of it I can agree with. But when you exaggerate it so much, it's pushing people away who would be your ally. And I'm not saying that MGTOWs need women to be their ally, but you know what? It doesn't hurt. Yeah. It certainly doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt to have, it doesn't really matter who you are. It's always good to have a few people on your side. Simple as that.
And it's also good to have somebody who's not who's able to say, this part here is very exaggerated. Like, it's good to have the criticism.
Yes, it's good to have a critical
criticism.
individual.
Because if you're just feeding into the same circle, I think the thing with and I'm not patting, I am patting myself on the back, but the thing is I am the person that I am. Like, I am such a introverted person that, like, I don't really compare myself with other women, because mentally I know I'm not. Like, I actually do have disabilities, so, like, in that sense, there's some things I just don't do. Like, if I'm comparing myself to you, I'm comparing that to you. Because it's not a judgment. It's not a judgment. It's just me, like, going, okay, well, how can I better work myself up so that, like, this doesn't impede me when I'm interacting with other people? Because I don't always read the situation. I don't always I end up in a corner because I won't say anything. Like, I'll listen to everybody and I'll watch everybody else, and I understand what they're doing, but I don't know how to enter into that.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling all too well.
I will tend to just go off and ramble on things like sciencey or geeky stuff, because I just don't know quite how to fit into things, and especially when I'm around women, I do have a lot of insecurities, simply because women tend to be incredibly catty and petty, and it definitely, like, they attack with claws. Like, when I see some of these women with these, like, crazy long fingernails, my first thought is, this is almost like wearing battle armor. Like, I almost, like, that's one of the things that goes through my head. But actually, one interesting thing that I didn't know, and I found out fairly recently, was the incel movement was actually started by a woman. The entire incel movement, because it was her struggle, and it got picked up by other people, and it became a men's movement. But it started off as a very disgruntled feminist. So,
I could see that, because
what a shock!
I absolutely could see that, and you know what? A lot of these incels are probably getting it from their moms.
Oh yes, because especially divorced moms who are, like, salty as fuck. Like, I mean, the ones that like to, like, turn their kids against the dad and things, like all those horrible things that you hear about. Like, I mean, that's how you raise a whole bunch of feminists, is you get you get one of those moms, and you get a
Do you know what? That I wouldn't even be surprised if that isn't part of the Great Divide. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. You and I, Elwyn, are in the middle, because we both had both their parents, so that's not the excuse. Like, I mean, yes, I like I said, like, there's some points where I don't really get where the mood of the people around me are at, but
oh, don't get me wrong. My mother is like, she's what I would refer to as an alpha female. Like, I wouldn't call her a feminist, but I would call her extremely domineering.
Yeah.
Like, in that she like reigns over my father. She will definitely, like, she never misses an opportunity to put anyone in their place. She wants to be the alpha female. She has always said that that's what she wanted to be. She wanted to be that strong, independent woman. She just took it a little too far, and became highly manipulative and highly aggressive. And when she goes off, she goes off.
I'd say my mum's kind of like that, just not to the extent that your mother is.
Yeah.
It's like my mother is that kind of woman that wants to work, that wants to raise kids, that wants to do as much as possible to the best of her ability.
Exactly, but she's not going to put down other women in the process.
Yeah, no, she
whereas
won't.
My mother would be like, well, so-and-so is like this, and so-and-so is like that, and oh my gosh, I can't believe who's raising those children. And, like, she's one of those people, like, who believes, like, women who go to therapy to deal with grief. She's like, oh, they're just a bunch of whiny women, like, there's a lack of empathy. And it might have been like I said, her father was born in 1891 and her mother was born in the early 1900s. So, I mean, it's probably a generational thing. But I've met my aunts and uncles. They're not like that. So I think it's just the way my mom is. So, but there's a lot of women like that are out there, and they can become very, very toxic to children. Like I'm kind of grateful I don't have any brothers, because I think she would have probably eaten them alive, to be quite frank. And my sister also has her personality as well, but she's got 2 little boys, so I keep a close eye on those boys, because like I want to be the aunt that they can come to if they need a break from mom sometimes, because yeah, mom can be kind of a little bit aggressive. So
Yeah, I would say that's my dad in the family. Like, don't get me wrong, I love and respect him, but like in terms of personality, like I'm not sure if I would classify it as a little bit sociopath or narcissistic or both, but like he will just rip into you
yeah, like
and
there's
leave
pulling
holes.
yeah, like there's pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, which I get, and then there's someone who is in general like genuine
Yes.
distress and mocking them, and that's a different story. That's not pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. That's someone who is is legitimately depressed or is legitimately going through something, and telling them, snap out of it, or like, stop whining, why are you crying, that sort of, like, there's context, and there's the
There's a time
thing
and a
is,
place.
it's about context, and it's about empathy, and you do have to recognize that there's people who are just like they don't want to get a job because they want to, like, just stay at home with mom and dad and live rent free forever, when they're perfectly capable of. They've been offered jobs, and they turn them down because they'd rather just be doing nothing. Those people, I totally support the whole, pull yourself up by the bootstraps kind of thing,
Yes.
like, get your ass together. But then there are people who are generally, like, they have been through some deep shit, and they're struggling. And those are people who need some help. And that's not a weakness, especially not if they're actively getting that help, and will sometimes they'll fall down, and they need sometimes you need a little bit of support to help them kind of boost them back up again. And the last thing they want to hear is, like, stop whining, quit crying, like that's not helpful. That's not helping anyone. So whenever I hear that phrase, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, the first thing that comes to my mind is context.
Well, like, I mean, here's the thing with my parents too, is like, with me being out of work for so long, for a good portion of that, it was actually good timing. Because my mom, over a 2-year period, had both her knees replaced. So who do you think they had act as a nurse? I mean, I didn't necessarily do everything, but like, I cleaned up, I helped her out, I cooked for her. I took days where, I gave my dad a break so he could go out and do stuff, and even just have some peace to himself, because like at that point, all she can do is tell me what to do, and she's terrible at that. Like she like, don't get me wrong, he has his issues, but she has hers too. But like she is the worst person for giving you directions, and then she'll get mad at you. Like, she'll get really mad at you. And the thing is like, her organization is different from anybody else's, and it works for her. And don't get me wrong, it does. Like, I get some of what she does, but like, just the way she describes stuff, like, it's the third shelf. No, it's the third shelf in the middle. No, it's the third shelf in the middle on the
Oh
bottom.
my god, mothers and describing things are the absolute worst.
My mom,
but she gets mean about it. Like, she gets mean about it, and that's where I've had to, like, be like, Mom, if you're like this with Dad all the time, you are triggering everything in him that comes out mean at you, and he is bottling that up.
Yeah, and one of these days it's gonna go, oof. The cap's gonna come off, and
I mean, he's never been physical, so don't like, that's not an issue. But like, when the words come out, they're.
But like, mothers and describing things are the absolute worst.
And
the worst part is
out of the thingy.
And then
that's my mom.
And then when you don't understand them, they start to get frustrated because they know what they're talking about, but I sure as shit don't.
Yeah. Can you get the thing out of the thing in the drawer? What thing? The thing. The thing that does a thing in the drawer. Which drawer? You know, the drawer, the big drawer. Well, there's
You
two
know-
drawers.
Yeah, there are several drawers here. What are you talking about?
Here's the thing, like there are ways that she could label her drawers for my dad. You know,
Yes.
it takes a sticky note because they went full IKEA builds on this kitchen, and it wasn't IKEA. Like this is good quality. Sorry IKEA, but like they were like,
Yeah.
this is our retirement home. We are not moving from here. We would like it to be nice so that we're comfortable in both the winter and in the summer. So that's
Yeah,
what they did.
my parents did the same thing.
So all the shelving, like they pull out so they don't have to bend over, like they don't have to kneel as often. You know, it's designed for seniors. You know, so like it's not that hard to label that kind of thing because there's room on the walls.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there are places on the shelf where you could tag it. So like my mom has little bins that she puts in it too, and I'm like, you can tag those. Anything like that you do for dad. My dad is an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
He can work it out.
Yep. Like my dad pretty much stays out of the kitchen because that's my mom's area,
Mhm.
and he doesn't want to get yelled at. He's got his man cave in the basement, and he lives down there, and
That's my
he's
man.
perfectly
Oh.
content. He's got his Japanese suits of armor, his samurai swords. He's got his like 5 he's happy all day long, just doing his finances, which is what he does for fun.
Yeah.
And my mom's got her kitchen, but my dad got smart about one thing. With the dishwasher, sometimes my mom will put it on a rinse, but it's not enough dishes to do a full load. So my dad went out and just got this little thing where you can slide it. It says either empty or sorry, dirty or clean.
Mm.
And every night before he goes up to bed, he'll just slide it into whichever one it is. So whenever somebody wakes up in the morning, they know, oh, these are dirty dishes. Oh, these are clean dishes. Okay. It's just little things like that. And my dad thought of that, and I thought that was really smart. And I think my mom needs to do something like that with her medication because she's in heart failure at this point, like congestive heart failure, and so she's made some mistakes where it's like like she's taken the wrong medication at the wrong time. I'm like, Shoppers Drug Mart has that thing where they will literally they'll set your pills up in these little like almost like little advent calendar kind of things where so that you've taken them at the right time. She's like, well, I could just write a list. I'm like, why don't you just let somebody help you? If it's going to be an issue and it's all like a health issue, let somebody do that for you. Like you don't have to do it yourself. But the joke that my dad and I have is like the little kid's story about the little red hen, where she goes around asking, she goes at the end of the day, she goes, well, fine, I will just do it myself. And that's my mother. I will just do it myself. So yeah,
Wow.
my dad will just turn to me. He'll just go, she's having a little red hen moment. And I'm like, yes, she is.
Yeah, see, for my dad and my mom, it's more to do with the fact that my dad, over the last 10 years, has been on this hardcore diet. And right now, he's a little bit more serious with it because he's taking this senior citizen thing really seriously. I think he's legit afraid of dying. And I think he's afraid of dying before his other daughter, who is my half sister. I legit believe this for a fact because everything he's doing right now seems to be forced in the direction of anything he can do to optimize his health. Because my sister has done nothing but badger him for money for the last 4 years since her grandmother died. And she's mentally ill, and she, sometimes she gets better, but she lies about it, and then she goes off her meds, and she needs to be in a program where she's monitored. I'm not saying she doesn't deserve freedom or to have a chance to get better, but she needs to be monitored because she's not trustworthy. Like she lived in the part of Vancouver where I know they do hard drugs. I know they do opioids. She is the type to do opioids. And like the mentality type that she is the type that would jump straight into that. Like she, and I told them that the minute she came back, and the first conversation I had with her, I was like, Dad, do you know the region she's from? And I pointed it out, and sure enough, and he, I feel very bad for him because like she's never been in his life ever. Like I could count on my hands the amount of time she's been in my life, and she's 15 years older than me. She had a car. She lived a province away from us. Like I get that it's a drive, but you know, if I had siblings, I would be seeing them all the time if I was older. And you know, she only ever came to see my dad for money, and I didn't know that. Like I always assumed she came to visit the whole family.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's often families are very layered where you don't find out about stuff till later.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't until after my grandmother passed that all the dirty laundry started to fall out. And it was like I kind of knew that there was something going on, but the minute my grandmother passed, I remember thinking, I was at work and I just went, well, kind of like there goes the neighborhood. That was kind of like the first thought that went in my mind. I was like, well, now everything's gonna, unravel like a ball of yarn. And I was absolutely 100% right. My uncle was just he lost it. He never recovered from that.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Yeah, families are very layered, and there's often a lot that they will keep from the kids, and then as the kids get older, they find out, and there's a certain degree of almost a sense of betrayal that when you realize how much has kind of been hidden a little bit, but you get past that. But it's still, you still feel a little salty about it.
Mm-hmm. It's like I feel for him. Like honestly, it's not that's one of the things I am worried about. Like that it'll end up being an attack on me from her, because I'm an adopted child. Chris is an adopted child. She believes that, well, dad spends all this money on us because, like, we've been out of work. My parents bought our condo for us because right now our situation is what it is. We were like, you know what? We're spending almost $2,000 on rent every month for two people. So it would make more sense to just get a condo. And it was like, yes, I understand that's expensive, but you know what? We can eventually either pay it off or, at least it's an investment, because, we don't know what's going on with our city. We don't know what's going on with the job market. I don't know. Like, I should be able to get a job. I don't do anything that important, like a gas station. I would go to a gas station. I don't care. It's a job. But there's nothing. And
yeah, I wish I could send you some of the stuff because I mean, in Toronto, like Shoppers Drug Mart is constantly asking for overnight stock workers, and I saw that sign the other day, and I remember thinking, God damn! Like, I mean, this is something I wish I could send Jen, because like I know you'd jump at a chance to do something like that, because it's work. You can work nights.
Yeah. I mean, it's never perfect because you can't get full time, but I would still take part time because at least it would pay my bills. It would pay my because, like I said, the investment in the condo is not wrong, because even if I had a job, I would be paying them. I would pay them more, is what I would be doing.
Yeah, but I would utilities and condo fees. And,
yes, yeah, exactly. But at least it's a firm place that I can invest in, in the long run. But I don't want to think about a battle with my half sister. Like she's crazy, for one thing. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I'm just like, you've never been in my life. And the only time you've been in my life, all you've done is attack my father.
Yeah.
And you're going to sit here and argue with me over money in front of people that I've never met in my life. Yeah. And I told my dad, like, don't confuse me with her. Like, I'm not ashamed of my situation, because I know I'm not the only person in Calgary in this situation. But at the same time, though, I would like to get off. Like, that's why I don't mind doing these streams, because at least I feel like I'm doing something, even if it's just talking about it. But like, I don't feel good about it. I've never felt good about it. And I work my ass off. Anytime they ask me for help, I'm over there helping them. She's never once done a fucking thing for my parents. And I'm not claiming that. I don't claim anything from them. I would rather that they go on holidays, enjoy your holidays. You went to school, you went to work to pay your college. You had a dream and you lived it, and you did a good job. And I don't feel like they owe me anything.
No.
And I've told them that so many times. everything they give me is more than appreciated. Like, they pay for my clothing, they pay for my food. I'm now at least getting enough help from the government that I can pay for my for the condo fees.
Yeah, and utilities. Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. But I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy at all. I want to get my hands back into the field, even if I hate customer service. Don't get me wrong. I mean that but I would still do it because I have to bite my tongue and make the money. And honestly, there's Bloodwing's not wrong when just the sense of pride in earning your own dollars and
Absolutely.
the first time you buy something for yourself that you finally feel like you've earned something.
Yeah.
And then the first time you get a chance to donate to somebody because it's your own money.
Yes. Absolutely.
And the feeling of gratitude of giving back. And so like I'm not crying. I'm not. It's just I understand it entirely, and so I understand why people are always asking, like, I need help. But like, I want to earn my own way, and I don't mind doing it this way too. But I want it to be fun on here. Like, I would like it to be done with fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those, like,
This
if you
is purely
can
for
help,
pleasure, not
then,
business.
then go
Like,
for it. If you
it's good
if
for
you like
therapy
it,
too.
then yeah,
It
with,
really is good for therapy too.
yeah, with donations, it's like, you know what, if you got a couple of shekels you want to throw, go for it. But
it's
nobody's telling you have to. It's just if it's something you want to do, hey.
I almost thought about bringing out the face too. I'm like, I have to fix up my apartment a little bit, and I don't know what I'm going to do because they're going to be doing our balconies this year. So we're all looking at where we're going to put our our balcony furniture. And my apartment is really small, but like I have thought about it, like, but I don't know if I want to go that route, because it's like, am I doing that sincerely because I just want to show my face on the internet? Because that's also a little bit doxy. But I think I love seeing Eve's face, because she's such a pretty lady, and
Yeah.
she's so lovable. I might do that for the game streams. Like if I do start doing the game streams just as like a little bit more consistent, I have to work myself up to it. I have to beat up my computer a little bit more. But like, I might look into that because like once we get ourselves set up, my brother does have a camera. I don't know how good it is. I do technically have a cell phone, so I mean there is that. But I might do something like that because like I don't know. But I'm not a thought. I am not dressing up because you give me money. I am not as pretty as Weibo because I am also 38.
Nothing wrong with being 38.
Nothing wrong at all.
Hey, come on. You're still pretty enough.
38 is the new 20s nowadays.
I know, right? That's the
Exactly.
thing, like Raging Eagle, and I'm like, yeah. How old are you? Oh, I know you think all young women want to go for the old men, but I hate to break it to you, a lot of the young women right now are not going for the old men because the old women have programmed them. They have programmed them. They are seeing you as Weinstein.
I just I love the reactions when people they'll see my picture and then I'll tell them my age and I get the wait what and I'm just like
I would not take off. I
hate
hate to break it to you, Duck Dog. As a Canadian, I refuse to take off clothing in the wintertime. And in the summertime, I won't do it either.
Amen to
So
that one.
no.
Well, to be fair, Owen, I've seen pictures of you. You're really pretty. That's why,
Oh, thank you.
Let's be honest here.
I mean, I do technically have pictures of me. It's just one of those things where, like, on a camera, it's different because it's a little bit more personal. And the other thing too is I do not wear makeup. And I'm glad. I'm glad because my face is a lot better for it. Like at my age, I would look a lot crappier if I had. There's a lot of things that go into aging. There's a lot, and I didn't do a lot of it because I'm antisocial.
Well, I think
And
honestly,
Cryptic has just donated, apparently. He's
thank you.
Jen
I have to
Greenwald.
open that. Thank you, Cryptic. Let me open that.
yeah, I've been shilling for you, Jen.
Thank you. I keep meaning to open that. It's just my computer's been a little bit of a turtle. It's been a little bit of it's been the butter of the turtle, not even the turtle. But you know what? I probably should do another clean because that last one was pretty bad. And like I said, this is the time of year where I do a deeper clean because I live in a wooden building and it's all carpet. And even if you vacuum that shit, sometimes you need to steam clean it too. And
Oh, Jen, I'm working with 3 gigs of RAM. So, I mean, we were talking potatoes. I have like the biggest baked potato sitting in front of me right now.
No, believe me, check your log. Triple A social. Honestly, I didn't go out drinking a lot. Yes, I smoke. That is my vice. That I would say that smoking does age you a little bit. Like it does kind of, I'm like, yeah, I can see it on the forehead a little bit. But honestly, if I were to walk by, most people think I'm probably in my early 30s or my late 20s. You know, and that's because I don't drink a lot. I don't wear makeup. I don't spend a huge amount of time in open sun. Like if it's that bright out, I will put a hat on just because I'm blonde and that's a good way to get cancer. At least that's what I was taught. You know,
I just get freckles like Anna Green Gables, like crazy freckles like that.
It explains why I'm as white as a ghost. Actually, that's probably offensive to Ghastly.
I am a gradual tanner, but the thing is I'm also I'm antisocial, which means that like my favorite place is where I am right now.
Oh hell yeah!
See, I like going out and about on my own, but not with too many people. Like I like going down to like in Toronto, we have like Kensington Market and stuff like that. Like I used to just like wandering like the little pot stores here and there and all the little like thrift stores where you can get like really good stuff. Like you get Doc Burtons for $20 when they're normally like, you know, $200. I like thrift shopping and stuff like that.
Thanks, Cryptic. He sent me $10 for a bag of onions. I can make French onion soup, which I do actually know how to make that. So.
Oh, French onion soup is delicious.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, if it's done right. Like I've had it done horribly wrong, and I was very disappointed. It was I don't remember where it was, but I have had it done right. So once you've had it done right, you can tell when it's done very, very wrong. Like I can't cook to save my life, but I can tell when something is very, very bad.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I remember there was this one that was there was actually 2. So like that was the thing. There was 2 products. So they were both a French onion soup that was in the freezer aisle. One of them was really good. And the other one was like onions and gravy.
Yeah. And it's the one that's like, it's watery and the
gelatinous.
Yes.
It's nasty.
Like Newfie probably knows exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about French onion soup here.
And I have no fucking idea to what you are talking about.
Yeah, so French onion soup it's a beef broth soup with onions. So the onions are usually roasted, like they're a slow roast. You know, sometimes I like to throw a little garlic in with that because I cheat a little. But it's a slow roast, and then you'll usually stew that afterwards in your beef broth slowly, and then
there's a bread in the bottom usually, and layered with like a thick cheese. I'm not sure what kind of cheese. I think it's mozzarella, but I'm not sure.
People change it up. Like I've heard Gruyere, I've heard mozzarella, I've heard of like the odd weirdo who's used Gouda
or brie or something like that.
Yeah,
fucking Frenchies.
Yeah, probably.
But it's what you want is a bubbly grilling cheese. You know, you want something that's going to leave a little bit of a crust to it, and it's going to add like a little bit of a cream to the soup,
almost like a fondue, like a thick fondue.
Yeah,
with it's a filling soup. It's a soup that does eat like a meal. Like you can literally have it as a meal.
But
so it's actually probably one of the best soups ever then.
Yes, actually, yeah. It really is, and it's a great comfort food. Yeah. So if you need like when I'm thinking comfort foods, I'm thinking like a shepherd's pie or
it's also technically if you're not shy of setting yourself up, it's not actually a bad poor man's food. But the way you do it is you make a big batch, and you have to have the right bowls to freeze it. But like this is stuff that my mom used to do all the time. Like she would make big batches of things like that, and she would freeze it in like the Cornyware, and that way my dad could just reheat it, and it was just fantastic because because she would have late nights. So here's the thing: both my parents worked long hours. This is probably why both of their kids are antisocial. But the hardest time of the year, my mom would be gone for like 16 hours a day. So my dad had to cook, and well, he's gotten a lot better. But there were times where we had purple refried beans that were frozen with hot dogs.
As a child, it was Chef Boyardee and chicken, our fish, frozen fish fingers and chicken strips, and that was meals for me because my parents they came from families that were really poor.
Elwin?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. My dad used to take these refried beans, and then he would mash them up with pickled beets, and then he would freeze them in plastic bags. So my mom would come back from these holidays, and she'd be like, "Why is there purple crap in there?"
So your dad
That's
cooked.
fantastic.
My brother and I refused to
that's
eat. We
amazing.
refused to eat. We so like
Fair enough.
So
See,
basically, he was just like, "Well, cook for yourself then." I mean, we're like, "Okay, fine." We did.
Like my dad is like the guy that watches every single cooking show. He has bought God knows what. Like literally, he could open his own kitchen with the amount of chef stuff that he's bought on Amazon. Has he opened any of it? Nope. My mom does the cooking, but he sure does like buying the stuff. I wind up inheriting a lot of things. Like I think we got a toaster, a blender. I got a coffee maker for Christmas. It's just oftentimes my mom will do a purge of my dad's sort of shopping overflow and be like,
I might have been a naughty child, and I might have tried to pull that one on my mom during the Christmas holidays, and I partially blame Satsu because he introduced me to that Ninja Foodie of his. So she just has the regular air fryer one, but like she was watching the commercial.
We got a deep fryer as well. That's one of the things my mom gave me as well. Yes.
So my mom was watching those commercials of the updated one where you can use it as a slow cooker at the same time. And she was like, "Well, that's amazing. It's all in one." And I was like, "Yeah, Mom, and if you don't need that old one, you can always give that one to your kids so that your daughter can use it, because there's nothing wrong with air frying every once in a while, like I could do potatoes, I could do chicken, I could do other vegetables, I could steam stuff technically in a weird way."
Needle the idea into that.
I don't even have to.
I should
offload stuff.
The thing is that she was grinning at me the whole time. Like I was playing it off as a joke, like I did say that don't do that. Like, I mean, unless you get it, like if you saw it for cheap, then sure, but like don't do it if it's not. But she knew what I was doing. But like sometimes I'll like we do that with her because we're not being serious. She appreciates that I like to cook, Yeah. But it was funny. God, it was funny.
And you're right, Mr. Dax. Steamed veggies are good. And as Jen has pointed out before, with broccoli, don't cut off the stems. The stems are actually very good for you.
Yeah, a lot of the nutrition's in the stems. Like, you might want to take off that little bit of skin if you don't like the skin. And I would anyway, just because, never hurts.
That's why the Chinese place that I order from for the beef and broccoli, they keep the stems on and they're lightly steamed. So that's how I know it's really a good healthy. Like if I'm going to order fast food, I know I'm actually getting healthy fast food. So
and it's actually fairly easy to make strings with them, like to grate them to make like strings. I actually want to get one of those. I know it's just a regular hand peeler with different blades, but it's one of those things where like I keep meaning to ask my mom to see if we could look for one at even a dollar store or something. I don't care. I mean, I should get a good one, but it's just something because they like what they do in like 2 seconds is what I used to do forever cutting them up, because you used to cut them up into long slants and then cut across those. And I was like, oh.
My dad spends all day long surfing Amazon, so trust me, if I mention the
Yeah.
idea, I can send you probably about 50 links to like the best priced stuff if you just tell me what you're looking for. Because this is literally what my dad does for fun. So
Jack
you
says your
probably
voice
look-
sounds like a cooking show. Do you want to tell him what our nickname for you this evening is?
Bet you can't believe it's not functional.
Honestly,
you
we can
can.
because like I haven't done a single article. Like I might have brought up like that one native tribe whose name I'm not going to say because I can say it when it's written in front of me. I don't have the confidence to do that, and I don't want to show disrespect like that. Like I do have respect for the situation. Like I do know that it's a little bit touchy, but I do not have respect for the white people who are there
No.
who are not listening to the situation, and you know that they aren't because they're hysterical. And some of the videos have been funny. Like, listen, guys, I feel like Monkey when he's like, I'm not even that big of a fan of Trump, even though we know you are, Monkey. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. I don't hate him either. I mean, I would choose him over.
Don't hate him, but
Trudeau.
don't love him neither.
I don't love him neither. I mean, like I said, I would choose him over Trudeau. I mean, I consider him less of a shit. So,
I consider all politicians pretty much honestly. If I had a child or even if one of my nephews said that they were going into politics, my first thought would be to go to my sister and said, "Have you considered therapy for your child?"
Oh,
100% agree with you.
I'm not gonna lie. The amount of times I've been told I should be a politician and me trying to think of a bad excuse to try and say, no.
Yeah,
I couldn't be a politician, but I can say with all honesty that I do not like the speakers, and I do not like the people speaking for other people, and I do not like the fact that there's a bias in the news that's being reported, because you're not going to solve an issue if you don't bring up both sides. How can you have people come to a table to an agreement if you do not have both sides of the story?
Exactly. And you find more often than not, it's like talking to a brick wall. It's for me, like with the whole SJW movement, like honestly, I find I cannot have discourse, and I come through it. I am sweet as pie when I'm talking to these people because I'm walking in eggshells. But I so much as use a word that they like. I use the term politically correct, and
Is that
I
a
was told
microaggression?
it was. Yeah, literally. I was told that it was a right-wing buzzword, and I'm like, wait, what?
The word that they made up is now a right-wing buzzword.
And what was the other thing that I got? I got lambasted for using. I was talking about biology, and I was saying I referred to something that like from the osteological standpoint, like when you're breaking down the bones, or when you're doing like autopsies, there's male, female, and then you might get the odd hermaphrodite, but generally most of those people are sterile. And I was told, you can't say the word hermaphrodite. That's a horrible word. That's socially unacceptable. I'm like, it's a biological term.
And here I thought biology would have been the offensive word.
And it turned out it was. And then I was told,
my
didn't
God.
you know that science is socially offensive, that only socialized science is now deemed acceptable? I'm like, well, that's news to me. And I was pre-med, so yeah, somebody
that
call the
sounds a bit
press.
fascist to me, actually.
Yeah, I noped out of there real damn fast.
Yep.
I basically said, thanks for the discussion. Bye, block. Because I get through it, asking legitimate questions from a scientific standpoint. And I took it as a very scientific standpoint. And I asked them, is it possible that it's a psychological thing with genders? And you're looking at, I'm not to say that, psychology and it's not part of biology, but it's just a different, it's not anatomy. And so I was trying to sort
They
of
hate it
say
when
how
you
it
tell
works.
them that.
Yeah.
I love it. I love their faces when you tell them that. But, and like, I don't discount their science either, because it is, studying the human mind, you are looking at a puzzle.
Exactly.
Psychology is a very very complicated subject.
Exactly.
Like-
and that's what I was trying to acknowledge. And I was trying to say, like, it's part about it. But I said, but I'm talking anatomy. I'm talking, like, just can we talk about anatomy for a second?
Caligula! Sorry, I had to announce.
Hello.
Magic!
And yeah, and they went off on me telling me that science wasn't science anymore. And that just, I mean, mind blown because I'm sorry, I spent how many years doing pre-med for what? Something that no longer exists?
I also have a hatred for that community. Not for the people that genuinely want to help people, but for the ones that encouraged kids to take drugs that they knew they didn't know anything about. Because I was definitely one of those kids. Luckily, I survived that, even though it made me want to kill myself a lot more than it was supposed to.
Oh, I was a test skinny pig in the 90s.
Yeah.
I was one of the first people that got the SSRIs before the black box.
And I do not know a single kid who wasn't on something who isn't fucked up right now.
Yep. Like I have permanent eye damage because of what they like the doses that they were giving me now are completely banned.
Yeah.
And I mean, I used to start every day of high school with throwing up before I went to class because of just the sheer amount of ridiculous chemicals that they were pumping into me. And I knew I was part of a test subject group, but I didn't realize how deep the rabbit hole went until later on, and I realized that they had some papers that were signed saying we don't know long-term effects, blah blah blah. And
my accusation isn't meant to point fingers. It is pointing fingers, but it's not meant to. What it's meant to do is to address the issue, because the fact is we have a mental illness problem.
We have
what I'm
crisis.
pointing at.
It's a freaking crisis. It's not a problem. It's a crisis.
The
system is overloaded.
And I think the biggest problem with it is, again, the overprescription of drugs rather than trying to get to the root causes of the problem.
Absolutely. They throw medication at people, and they don't even bother to look at, conflict. The number of times I've gone to
Your mom was smart, all you
pharmacy.
need. Your mom was smart, because I was in a dark period at that time. And honestly, I do. Like I said, I do believe I have, I know I have learning disabilities. I do suspect that I might be a little bit autistic on some kind of spectrum. I'm going to take a test at some point and figure out what it is. But there are some things where I'm like, okay, I know that. And I am an introvert. And there's all these little things that, they prescribe you stuff that you don't even need. My parents could tell you from day one that I was an introvert, because I've been an introvert since I was a wee child.
From day dot,
For me, it was like they weighed the options, but for me, there was no choice. Like, I mean, my OCD was, when I was first diagnosed, was just so bad and they did a PET scan, and it showed up on the PET scan showing, look, this is actually a genetic thing. This is not something she's going to grow out of. That this is actually a biochemical problem. There's an actual malfunction going on a genetic level, on a biological level, that this needs to be addressed. This is something that, if I drop dead, they could find it in an autopsy kind of thing. So that's how they
I actually kind of see something there too, because if I'm looking at myself, my system has always been fucked up for the hormones since and it didn't start off that way. I started off really early, which was rare, but I was going fine up until a certain point, and then it just stopped. And honestly, it was around the time that I was taking those drugs. And it messed with my hormones. It really did. And I know it did for a lot of kids, because it's meant to calm you down. It's meant to give add endorphins and shit, and whatever all shit it did, and whatever doses. My brother was on weird shit. I was on weird shit. I'm not saying I'm not over it. I am, but it didn't. At the time when you're supposed to be learning how to deal with that kind of shit, throwing
it doesn't
drugs.
help.
No.
Well, the thing that they don't tell you, and the thing that I know now, and this is partly because I studied a lot of it through school, and partly because I've lived a lot of it, is generally like just let's just look at it just straight from the typical drug that a doctor would give you, which is probably going to be an SSRI or an antidepressant or something like that. That's supposed to, put a kick back into the system and give you that endorphins and set you back on the right track. It generally takes, I would say, 3 months before it's even working. And in those 3 months, your risk of going further downhill increases threefold. So you are probably going to suffer more in those 3 months before they technically, like, air quotes, start working. And then that's probably not even your right dose. So add another 3 months and maybe another 2 months before you are even remotely aware of, even if that's the right medication for you. And that is how these medications work. And they do not tell you that. They will just throw it to you. And it's often, I will get pharmacists that will catch it faster than the doctors will. And they'll be like, wait a second, you can't take this with this. And then they'll have to go through the calling and all this other process. And things get delayed and there's arguments back and forth. And it's become a real thing. Yeah. And I become really aware of how disconnected the pharmacies are, like pharmacology, from the doctors. Like the doctors are basically being, they're kind of given the Cole's notes, as you were, of like, well, this is what you kind of prescribe. And that's what they kind of go by. But they're not tailoring it to the person. There's no pharmacology specialists that should be working with them. And that is where our health system is really failing, is because the pharmacology aspect is not working with the actual doctors who are prescribing. And that's the two people that should be working hand in hand to tailor things correctly. There should be a nutritionist involved. There should be an endocrinologist involved to make sure that things like hormones are not being disrupted, that your thyroid's okay. There should be monthly blood tests that they always say that you're supposed to get, that they never actually, issue. There's so many things that are being scraped over and overlooked in the great scheme of saving money, and it's actually costing lives, because the number of people that are winding up in the emergency room from overdose or underdose or mixed medications or bad reactions is just going through the roof.
Yeah.
And even then, it's not even just that, but it's most of those problems could be avoided if, as mentioned, and I will mention it again, if they, instead of prescribing, they look to root causes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why I was really grateful that I was one of the few people, and I do say very, very few, that got the PET scan as a kid, because I've asked for one since, and you can't get one for love or money. I mean, I would have to be dying of terminal cancer to get a PET scan right now. That's about the only way I could get one, even though they recommend that when you're on any kind of treatment that you're supposed to be getting regular PET scans so they can check like on the biological level if it's actually doing something. And then they can do that. And in Europe, they're doing more of that, but it's yet to hit North America in terms of a regular practice. And even in the UK, it's yet to hit there as well, because the National Healthcare Service is kind of the same as the Canadian Healthcare Service, in which case, they're glossing over a lot of stuff, because I mean they're working with tax dollars, so anything to save a buck, right?
Yeah.
So
The NHS is absolutely. It's the thing with the NHS, which is even worse, is no matter how much money has been thrown on the NHS, it is still shit.
And you're right, Mr. Dax. They are not overlapping unless you're becoming a specialist. And the problem is the specialists aren't communicating. The hospital that I go to, because I have multiple things that are going on, each department considers themselves a separate hospital, if you can believe it. So as a result, there's no communication between the doctors. And that I find unbelievably astounding. In the same building, you've got different people not talking to each other over the same patient. And that just blows my mind.
And Jack Gunsky makes a great point here.
Yes, always $1 billion from Utopia. Absolutely. There's not, but truthfully, there is no social funding for the people that need it.
I
See,
think
the ones I had when I was there were probably the worst thing that they could have done, because I was 12, barely going into 13. And then the program I was in was all 16 to like 19-year-olds. There was one other guy who was 15, and like he wanted to pick me up, and I was okay with it at first until he tried to walk out into the street in front of me, and then I was like, "Fuck you, motherfucker!"
Yep.
But at the same time, they stuck me in a room full of people who were legit trying to kill themselves with a 12-year-old who was already in that mind frame.
yeah, not exactly most reassuring.
And
I'm
the thing
not a
is
big fan of the group therapy stuff. I was lucky when I was 12, 13 that they did one-on-one, and it wasn't until I was about 16 when they put me in with the group therapy. But yeah, that's horrific, Jen.
I think
the group therapy, like, I mean, luckily I never, because some of the stuff they described, I was never interested in hurting myself. I wanted to die. I didn't want to hurt myself.
You just wanted the pain to stop. That's pretty much it. That is. I think if you ask people who are genuinely depressed, that is the answer they will give you. They're like, I don't want to die. I just don't want to feel like this anymore. I'm exhausted. Can you please make me not so like feel like I'm exhausted and just drained and in pain all the time? Yeah, I would like that to go away, please.
Now, luckily, like I said, like some of the kids in there, it was kind of good and kind of bad, because like I said, I was still depressed, but I wasn't stupid.
No.
You know, and I think that was the thing, is like I'd worked it out. I was like, I knew I had problems. It was either I run away, which I couldn't logistically do. I was like, where am I going to go? Am I going to go live out in the wilderness? How do I get out to the wilderness? How do I leave the city? How do I actually get on a bus without somebody figuring out that I'm trying to leave the city without my parents' knowledge? Like, they don't check for parents' signatures or something, Jen? Are you gonna walk like by the time I'd gotten that far, like I was already like, I'm screwed. Like I'm gonna have to legit live as a street person, and I'm gonna be robbed within like probably an hour.
Yeah, robbed or like thrown in the back of a truck and sold on the black market. You know, like there's just so many things that can go wrong.
You know, so I wasn't a dumb kid, but I knew I had issues. It was just like I couldn't talk to my parents. There was no one else. I had no one else I could talk to. I couldn't talk to my brother. I couldn't talk to my friends. Like I was ostracized in class at that time too. So I couldn't talk to the teachers because they didn't believe me, or I was punished half the time because I would defend myself. So I had no respect for authority either, because I was like, well, you really don't care for me. Like, you act like you care for me. You talk like you care for me, but then you bend the rules for the other people who are harming me when I'm not even using violence I was using words. Like I was, because like I said, like my reading had gone from like nothing in grade 2 to like accelerated reading. And like the things where I was lagging on was maybe a little bit of math, but honestly a tutor one-on-one probably would have fixed it, because like I said, once I realized math was a puzzle, it becomes a lot easier to figure out. I just hate adding letters to shit. I'm just like, can you get to the point?
Yeah.
But even algebra is sort of a puzzle in of itself. It's a different kind of puzzle with similar rules.
Algebra and geometry is very hard, especially like, I mean, I was tested at the Hospital for Sick Children, and one of the things they found was I have no spatial orientation. It is a learning deficit. I cannot rotate objects in space. So like if you taught me like take this box and imagine what it would look like if it was turned, you know, this many degrees or turned like.
See, I can do that.
I can't. Like same thing with directions. You tell me east, west. You might as well just send me out into the road to die, because unless you give me like proper landmarks, say, you know, walk this distance on this side of the road, you see this building on the right hand side, you turn into the, you know, like you give me landmarks, you give me directions that way, like visual cues. I'm fine. You give me like coordinates, you're pretty much sending me like off into the wild to be eaten by bears.
See, I'm both very visual. Like I can picture things in my head very well. Like I it's almost to the point where I can picture words, which is what drives me nuts, because when I spell shit and what I'm picturing in my head doesn't appear on my chat, and I press enter, and I know I haven't had a chance. I can't go back in time.
Yeah.
I used to be very visual.
But it's also I'm more into reading, and this is where I've gone wrong, guys. Like I really have to go get a library book and just go take out the books and start reading shit that I don't give a shit about, just so I know what they're talking about. Because the thing is I can read through things really fast and catch on. I'm actually better at reading on my own. I was the kid who would just sit there and I would, honestly, I hated going to class for that, because I would rather just do it on my own.
Yeah, same. I preferred, like, I would actually study for other classes during my English class because I would have had the homework done, and then I would have the next day's homework
Yeah.
done and the days after that. And so I would just be studying chemistry in the back, and I actually got detention once for studying chemistry and English. And I just laughed because, I mean,
And that's the thing with public schools, is you really can't have the help for the kids who need the help, because like it was the same with science. Well, for me with science and the math, I was always put into the lower APs. And that's always a mistake, because the thing is they give you really easy stuff. Like, you know,
Yes.
I'm glad that I know how to do my tax reforms. Like, that's really good. Like, that's important. I'm glad I have that. But it was just like, you know, you could have taught me more complicated math. All you needed was to have one-on-one. Like, I realized that the puzzle might have to be explained in a different way with me. But I know that there are teachers out there who can do that. And that's why I had no faith in the educational system, because every teacher that I knew that cared about me were like English or social studies. And the social studies teacher at the time actually taught about countries, like, you know, the history of countries, the politics of countries, that kind of shit. They didn't do the whole like social programming shit. Don't get me wrong. Like, if you'd been a racist piece of shit, you would have been kicked out of the class, and nobody in that classroom would have supported you for it.
And rightly so.
yeah. But it was a different time. And I found going from high school to university was like night and day. I went from, you know, like, I mean, I was doing great. Like I was honor student and everything in high school. But I mean, there were some classes where I was having a bit of a harder time, simply because the teaching style was just not right there. The minute I hit university, my grades went through the roof because I was finally able to focus on doing like hard research. I was doing hard science. I was pre-med, and I was doing awesome. Like, it was nuts. I just remember thinking it's the dynamics. It's because they didn't treat you like they were looking down on you. They expected you that you were there because you wanted to be there. And I went to U of T. You were not a person. You were a number, and I liked that because there was no gender bias. There was no you get special treatment for this. You get special treatment for that.
You're all competing.
Yeah. First day, look to your left, look to your right. That's your competition. You have no friends here. That's exactly what they said.
You know, and it's the one time where men and women can actually honestly compete with each other in
absolutely.
something. You know,
you're a number.
In different ways.
Yeah.
You know?
But you're a number.
It is rare for
it is meritocracy.
It is rare for some women to come out on top. But like, honestly, I admire them more than when they do.
Yeah, like, I mean, I was damn proud for what I achieved because I achieved it purely based on my brain, and not because of my identity. Because my identity was summed up in a number, which did not reveal my name, my gender, anything about me. I was nothing but a number, and I liked it that way because that meant that everything that I earned on my own right.
See, that's the thing that makes me feel so weird about myself when I talk about people. Because, like, don't get me wrong, I respect entirely what you're saying, because what you were filling your brain with is the stuff that I should have been filling my brain with, and the entire time I was aware of it. But like, people will talk to me about things like movies. I haven't seen a movie since 2016, and that was the last. I can't remember. Keanu Reeves. I can't remember.
Oh, John Wick.
Yeah, that one. And then before that, the last movie I'd seen before that was the the latest Godzilla movie, which I thought was hilarious because it reminded me the most of the original ones because of the character of Godzilla, and I was like, yes. And the guy that took me out hated it because I acted that out, and then I announced to the theater that I had to go pee, and I enjoyed myself the entire time because I was like, if you can't handle a joke, dude, then you can't date me.
Oh, and Jack, me too. I skipped most of my English classes in both university and in high school, and I still got top grades because I was able to. I know how to bullshit.
I'm not gonna lie. Everything I've ever done in my education has all been me bullshitting through it, and I've done pretty well.
I'm also going to blow your guys' mind on the other fact that I haven't owned a TV since I lived at home with my parents, which was like 2000.
Wow.
Because I refused. I had the internet, which was more than enough entertainment. I could read stuff. I could research stuff. If I wanted to. There was ways to get videos. I mean, it wasn't good quality. Like, it wasn't YouTube. But you could still watch stuff. Like, there was educational TV. Like, you could watch programs online for documentaries and stuff. Like, you know, there was never anything I couldn't read. Like, there was manga online. There were written comics by Dojinshi, which I'm butchering the word. I'm not Japanese. Sorry, guys. But, you know, it was a great place for people to express themselves. And it was like kind of a way to greet the world. I loved the internet, and I still love the internet. It's the thing that brings everybody together.
It does.
We can have a conversation with people, like both the two people on the right and the person below me are so far away from me that this would not happen, you know, on a weekly basis ever. You know, we couldn't afford that.
No.
Could you think of the carbon?
How dare you?
How dare you? But you know, like this is the thing. The internet has brought a lot of people together, and yes, there's been a lot of wars. I've seen some of the drama that people can cook up online, and yes, there's a lot of scary shit online. But people online have had a community since I was 15 years old.
Yep.
And it's changed so much, and people have changed so much, and I feel like people got lost in the internet. And yes, there are normies. There are definitely normies who do not experience that. They don't see the internet the same way. But I definitely can say I was a wormhole kid, you know, and coming out into real life, like realizing how messed up everything is. And like, I've been like this for a while. Like, don't get me wrong, I've been like this for a while. But like, I ignored it because I didn't think I could do anything to change anything anyway.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to waste money on going to college because I was like, I don't know what I want to be. I still don't know what to be. You know, like I like people. I've always been the person that like, oh, well, Jack told me something that made me smile because that's what I've been told by every other person who's ever like enjoyed my presence before, is you light up a room when you come into a room. And I'm like, well, how do I make a career out of that? Well, it's nice to be a coffee shop person. Like, that's nice to greet people, but I can't, you know, I can do that now because I need money, but I can't retire and live off of that either, you know? Not on a socialist government.
Yeah.
And it's not about asking for more money. It's just saying if they didn't tax the shit out of it, I would have more in my pocket, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? So, anyway.
Yeah, that's agreeable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just been here doodling.
You're fine.
Yeah.
So
Well,
how's
I
your
wish I
week
had
been,
more.
Newfie?
It's been doing okay.
Yeah.
Been doing okay. Yeah, still alive, still kicking somehow.
So
Really
I
weird.
think you were the one who's been the most in Alex's Discord, but
Yes.
have you heard the latest update? Like, I think I saw something on Twitter, but it was a lot of doctor talk, and I
He's waiting
Don't
on
wanna
an
confuse-
MRI, I believe.
Yeah, he's waiting on
Yes.
an MRI right now.
Yeah.
MS has not been ruled out.
Mhm.
No.
which they will
there has
always tell
been-
you. Yeah, they
There has been 2 abnormalities found
In-
within his brain, so
Yep.
that's why the MRI.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and the problem is that it keeps him feeling drunk and
Mhm.
changes
Yeah,
his
dizzy
accent
spells,
on it.
yes.
It's
also-
almost an aphasia effect.
Yeah.
Which
And he is required to talk in a Lord Bear accent in order to maintain
yes,
a string of sentences,
Yes,
Alex.
and it is hilarious.
yeah, and
which is why I believe that Lord Bear is actually the body and not irate Alex.
Alex is being possessed by Lord Bear.
Yeah, Jack, I really hope it's not MS2. However, the doctors are required to
poor
say that.
BB.
Because doctors do have a tendency to scare you. They will tell you a whole bunch of stuff, and one of the crappy things about CTs, I had actually something similar happen where they thought I had a mini stroke about a year and a half ago, and the first thing they said was, "Oh, there's abnormalities on your CT," and of course freaked me absolutely right the hell out. And it's not until they do the MRIs, because the MRI will actually show if there's been anything that's going on, and then you go through the neurology, and it's a step-by-step process. And the key thing is just do not Google your symptoms. Do not Google your
Do
symptoms.
not. Just don't.
Just don't.
It will tell you you're dying even if you're not.
Yeah, because I saw somebody tell them to research it. I was just like, no, please don't. For the love of God, don't do that.
Even I was thinking, wait, hold up. That's not
Yeah.
good advice.
No, it's
Yeah.
the worst advice. It really is, and doctors are required to basically list off all the potential things that it could be. And oftentimes it's some scary ass shit. And what you have to do is take it with a grain of salt and realize that in that profession, they are by law required to tell you, all the potential risks and things like that. Just like you go for something as routine as dental surgery, where they have to potentially sedate you. You have to sign like a waiver saying that you might die. Because I actually had a friend who did die during dental surgery. So I mean, this stuff can happen. So there's stuff that they will scare you oftentimes, but the main thing is just to take it one step at a time and just be on their ass. If you got an appointment scheduled and you haven't heard from them, you call them and you're like, dude, I want to make sure that I got this appointment and it's coming up. Like, I haven't heard from you. Where's my damn appointment? Like it sucks that we have to do that, but it universal healthcare and the NHS, you have to do it because
That makes
they're
me
not
really-
doing their job.
Yeah. And
That makes me
considering
really
how-
feel for my parents, because I had my wisdoms pulled when I was 13, which means
Ooh.
they had to have signed that waiver. And I mean,
Yeah, it's probably
I
scared
woke
them.
up, I woke up laughing, and I felt so bad for the girl next to me who was like 16 and had signed the waiver, because she was crying her eyes out, but I was just laughing, and the harder she cried, the harder I laughed, and I kept apologizing while laughing.
Yeah, because obviously everyone comes out about aesthetic the same. Like I actually during one of my last procedures, when I came out of my anesthetic just for jokes, I said, I think Arms Keller might have seen the little video that I sent a couple of my friends, and I was just coming out of anesthetic going, "What day is it?" And me
I
just
don't think I
looking
have
at the
seen that.
Oh, I'll have to send it to you. I sent it to Blind Girl and Peter, and it was just me coming out of
I
anesthetic.
think I even vaguely remember I think I even vaguely remember the conversation, because the nurses were like, "What's so funny?" I'm like, I don't know why I'm awake. All I know is that I want to go back to sleep because I feel like shit, and it's funny.
Oh, I
Yeah.
fucking hated it when I had my appendix removed. That fucking anesthetic just made me feel tired.
Yeah.
Oh, the first thing when I had my first surgery for endometriosis, when I first came out of surgery, the first thing I said, and I'm really hard to sedate, so I had to work with the anesthesiologist, and we together concocted this like cocktail for me. It was rather entertaining, me sitting down with the anesthesiologist, because I knew just as much as the anesthesiologist did. So we were like comparing notes, like, okay, so what if we did this and we added this? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. It was like a negotiation thing. It was very hilarious.
Yeah.
But I come out of anesthetic and I was still in the recovery area, and they just extubated me, and my eyes just pop right open. So that scared the guy right from the start. And I just looked at him and I go, "You didn't kill me. I love you." and then they gave me one of those things where it was the button for the fentanyl, and I think I maxed that sucker out in 5 minutes, because I'm just like, wee again, wee again. And it was really funny. But they did make the mistake that they made was they walked me into the operating room, and I thought I had it all together because this is my first major surgery, and I thought I was chill, and they're sharpening knives, and I walked in and my knees gave out, and I went, oh fuck.
Down again.
I'm gonna die. Like, they should have wheeled me in. Like, that's how they should have done it. But then I remember that, they strap you to the bed or everything. I remember looking at the clock, looking at my arm, thinking, oh, this kind of looks like, the things I've seen on TV for lethal injection. And then I felt them, inject the stuff going in, and it burns like hell. And I remember just looking over the clock and going, well, oh, well, I guess if it kills me, I'll be the last one to know about it. So nothing I could do. Night. And just then I woke up. But
whatever you had for those operations, I fucking want some of that shit.
I can give you notes. I can give you notes. Oh, believe me, I took notes. I took some good notes. Yeah. No, I actually my most recent surgery, I had a discussion with the anesthesiologist as well, and we sort of talked back and forth over what would be the best thing. She's like, well, what worked for you in the past? I'm like, well, this combo was pretty good. She's like, yeah, we can do that. Maybe we can add a little bit of this. I'm like, yeah, but not that one. I'm just like, okay, yeah, we can work with that. So you can talk to your doctors, and believe me, anesthesiologists are probably some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, because they do get it. Mm-hmm. And they deal with people who are anxious all the time. And the worst thing you can do is not tell them that you're nervous. You should always tell them. I
always tell them my routine, regardless of what they're injecting me with. Yeah. I'm just like, listen, I just don't look at you when you're poking me with the needle, and I don't look at the needle. I usually look at the clock if they have a clock, because it's just to distract my mind, and then, like, sometimes I'll be like, it's just a mosquito bite, Jen. And I won't say it out loud, but like I'll be trying to think that, so I'm just letting them know that I'm trying to distract my mind from what they're doing, because honestly, the more calm and relaxed I am, the better it is.
I fucking hate needles.
I'm the weirdo that watches, but the reason why is because I've had them fuck up my IVs before, where like the blood starts going up the IV, and that's when you know that they've messed up.
Oh yeah, I've had blood go up the IV before.
Yeah, that's when they've messed up, because they've hit something where it's like they've got like a little bit of an air pocket thing going on, and so it's sucking things back up. And I had one do it was supposed to be like a clotting test, and she almost hit my vein. If I hadn't been watching to tell her, stop, wait, you are way too freaking close to that vein, she would have been in serious crap. This was a nursing student that they had doing this. My first clue was that she put on the tourniquet, which was also the blood pressure cuff, upside down.
Just need to turn on the light.
This is not a good situation. So as a result, I watch. I watch because I want to make sure, and also because I bruise really easily, and I get some very interesting bruises when I go in for blood work and things like that. So I'm one of those weirdos that watch, but I watch for a reason, because I want to make sure that they're doing it right, because I don't want them to have to go in a second time, because you don't want to look like somebody's been beating the crap out of your arm, because there's so many questions, and there's no good way to answer them.
Let's just say the only reason why I don't look at needles is because I don't want to be kicking anyone I'm near.
Oh yeah, 'cause sometimes it's an automatic reaction. Like it's like for me, like if I see a wasp or a hornet, like I just
Yeah.
like my brain turns off and I just freak out.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's
Yeah.
fear response in people for certain things. It's a genuine thing, and needles for some people is a very huge deal. Like
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
people they can't even hear
Actually,
the word. They freak
the
it out.
last time I went to get blood taken for tests, the lady who did it on me was doing a demonstration for a student, and
Yeah.
she was talking out loud about the process, and she was doing it with me, and with the intention of letting me listen in, and I enjoyed it because it was a chance for me to listen. And she
Mhm.
said it's actually more common for men to freak out when they watch it because it's the
Yes.
idea of seeing the blood being extracted
Mhm.
and just letting it happen freaks them out. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
like an
the feeling of
instant, like, no.
helplessness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Men are hardwired to have that sense of like they're in control. They know what they're doing, which is why men are less likely to go to the doctor. Men are less
Mhm.
likely. There's been studies done on this, and it
Mhm.
is hardwired into that whole like the protector, the provider instinct
Yeah.
in men. And so when they're put into that sort of helpless state, it's taking them out of their comfort zone in a major way. And that always bothers me when the nurses get frustrated, because it's like, no, I don't think you're understanding that you're taking
Yeah.
some guy that like this is not his norm, whereas
Oh
women
yeah. I
are more
fucking
hardwired to
panic.
be a little bit more submissive, and because that's just the way most girls are raised. And so girls tend to make better patients, because we do kind of accept that. But it's it's a
I
different thing.
it's also a partitioning of the mind. Like, I find most people who can just take their mind away from the situation,
Oh yeah.
that's pretty much it. And I know some men can do it too, but like with me, it was just always automatic. Like, anytime I've been in pain, my mind just distanced itself from it. Like, I do feel pain, but I've distanced myself from it. And that's actually what screws me up, is because when I see other people in pain, my distant mind is still seeing that. But
Oh,
it's
for me in pain, it's.
Mm.
Is that all you got, bitch? Is that
No.
all you fucking got?
Yeah.
That's
No,
sort of how it's working. That's sort of how it
yeah.
works for me in pain.
I've kind of reached to that
Yeah,
point just
exactly.
because I've been dealing with
Mm.
what I'm dealing with for so long. But at the same time, I will go and go, and then I'll do something like stand up, and functional will even see it, and because I'll be sitting at the computer, and I'll be like, like I know that I'm not doing great, but I'm like, I've got it together. I'll stand up, and suddenly it's like, oh crap, like I just will wash over me, and I'm like, damn, I guess I was repressing that quite well for a while there.
Oh yeah, the thing with me in pain is if I've been exposed to pain for a certain amount of time, I sort of get used to it and just can deal with it until until a new pain is introduced. In which case, so it's so weird for me.
Yeah, that's actually why, like, I've seen people do that when people are getting getting blood taken. They'll ask somebody to pinch them or something like that, because it's like one pain will distract from the other. That's something I've seen people do as a mechanism for coping. If it's something that's painful, is they'll get somebody, or they will pinch themselves, or they'll like whack themselves in the leg or something like that when it's happening, because it's kind of a transference.
Mm.
So
Oh yeah, no, that probably
it's
wouldn't
weird,
work.
the coping mechanisms and the psychological things that we go through. Like I said, it's funny when they talk about the brain and how little of it has actually been truly mapped. Like, I think we've only mapped, I think, what was the latest? I think it's like 40% or something. That it might not even be that high, and that's crazy. Like, only that little that we actually truly know about. Um, I don't know. Science is just it boggles it's so fascinating, but at the same time, it's so scary because it's so little we know, but so much that's there. But yeah, no, doctors are obligated to scare people, so that's the thing. It's just the sad part is that we don't all have like a doctor house who can. We'll keep you there until we find the answers. Because my gosh,
yeah.
the number of I mean that's what Alex needs right now. He needs a doctor house that's just gonna sit with him and be like, we're gonna get to the bottom of this.
And you
right
better
damn
not give the
now.
fuck up.
Yeah. Rather than make him wait and wait and wait and have to deal with this because he's got a family, he's got his wife, he's got people that are worried and he doesn't want them to be worried, and it's stressful, and I really
Unless it's
feel for
not
the guy.
lupus.
Yeah, I don't
We
think it's
f-
lupus.
We ruled that out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting though, with like serious injury and what your brain does to protect you during that
Mhm.
situation. Because like, yes, you do feel the pain because that's a natural instinct to help you avoid death. But psychologically, like, especially like hard war wounds or like farm wounds, like serious accidents, things like that, where
Yeah.
there's a little
Or
bit of trauma
burns.
involved. Like, it's amazing, like, because
The
your brain
adrenaline will
just
kick in,
yeah
and
like
you won't feel it, like, because adrenaline's a hell of a drug that the body has on reserves when it needs it, and when that adrenaline kicks in,
Yeah.
you could be walking around with a broken leg and wouldn't know it sometimes, until that adrenaline wears off, because if it kicks in hard enough, you're not feeling anything. It's amazing the chemical reserves that the brain will release just to protect you from going into shock and all the things that goes along with that.
I get very angry whenever I'm hurt.
Oh yeah.
That's
weird.
probably the adrenaline thing, yeah, because adrenaline in men probably does trigger an anger
Oh,
response.
I just get energized whenever,
Yeah.
Oh
like
yeah,
whenever I'm play fighting
I'm
or just fighting. I just feel that pump, and I'm like, I want to punch you in the face even harder.
Mhm.
yeah. I'm just like I'm feeling like a Viking and just ready to grab a battle axe and just charge into battle.
Yeah.
Be like,
It also
if I'm
happens-
going to hell, I'm taking you with me.
Yes. Yes. It also happens after a long period of exercise, and I'm like, more bitch, more. Even though I know I'm aching like a bitch, but I'm like,
Yeah,
more.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely how adrenaline manifests in males. I think men definitely, when they get that adrenaline kick, you'll get the anger response.
and I will say, with women, the violence in women is more their tendency to want to bury people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the violence in guys is just fuck you. You're going down. You've pissed me off.
Exactly.
And in women, it's just anything I can do to destroy everything about you until you want to die.
Oh yeah, no. The destruction of them and their entire family is a result of men and adrenaline. But
Yeah.
Yeah, Doug. House was the misanthrope, but House was the steam train. Like, honestly, half of his team would have given up if he wasn't driving them to do what they were doing.
I don't think he was necessarily misanthropic.
No.
Like,
For the record, I'm not saying all women either, nor all men either. I'm just saying when you see the toxic that comes out on like either side, that's just how it looks to me.
It takes a lot to push me to the point where I get like snarky.
Hashtag save Johnny.
Oh, for me,
But when you get to that point, the snark that will come out of me is definitely next level shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I do not go there and when I do go there, it's not like I'm going to like I don't go like neo-feminist or any of that. It's just more like I just I'm done with people, and that's kind of my status on it. Is just like, I'm sick of your shit. I don't care if you're a man, you're a woman, you're a giant potted plant. I am just done with this. I'm done with this potted plant. I'm done with this chair. I'm done with everything.
There are only a handful of times where I've actually been genuinely furious.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I
For
can
me is my brother, and the thing is I'm not necessarily saying it to his face. It's mostly just I'm no longer able to contain my anger when he does stuff. So when I go to the kitchen and I see that he's left a mess or he's eaten something, and I'm just livid because
Yeah, he's eating something that you spent like a good deal of money on, and you went out of your way to get it just for yourself, and you
or
see him
even just
snacking on it or something
well,
like that.
it's not just that. Like he does it with ingredients, you know. So it's stuff that I would have used to make for both of us that would have been really good.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's just he'll just ruin something so that I don't want it because he thinks that that's what I do. And it's like, no, I split up our food now because if I don't get to eat.
Yeah.
So like that's not for like kitchen food. Like anything that goes in the fridge, I'm like, well, if it's still there when I'm hungry and I go to get some, then I'll have some. But if it's not there, then I write it off as a write-off. And he gets bitter at me because I don't eat as much as he does. So like say I have soup or say I have, you know, I do have vegetables in the fridge. It's not like I don't have access to that, but
Well,
it's
Functional
just,
doesn't eat yogurt, so my yogurt is safe.
see, I got that. You know,
Yogurt's nasty.
cereal is something I can put in my room. You know, I can have a box of cereal in my room and it's fine. It's just anything that I can keep in my room that's not going to attract anything that I don't want in my room. Just saying I keep myself clean. It's just I go to these extents, and he's like, "Well, you're hoarding food." I'm like, "No, you eat everything."
You're rescuing it. You're preserving it. You're
You
like
were
the park
technically
ranger that's taking the animals into custody so that they don't get eaten by the predators.
he is hoarding it by putting it in the one place I can't get it in his stomach. So
Yeah.
it's like, and
You don't want it back once it's been in there.
and I get that it's taken him a really long time to get to the point of understanding that yes, he is eating too much. He's eating more than what a normal person should. And I'm not trying to shame him for it. It's just it's one of those things where like I'll go out to the kitchen and I'll see that and I just start cursing under my breath and like just you fucking asshole. You know? And it'll get dirty, you know? And I don't call out mom's name or anything like that. I will pick apart his mentality because I'm like, what kind of an idiot does this?
Mhm.
Like, you think that you can't read the back of a bottle, you know, read the ingredients list.
Yeah.
Why would you do something like that? Or like, why would you leave this here when we have a garbage can right next to you? Like,
Oh, trust me, men rely on the power of hindsight a lot.
Yeah, like I will totally own up to the fact that I do have to, and I'm being more cautious now because I didn't realize I was doing it till it was pointed out to me. When I will get slightly peeved off about small things, I kind of get passive aggressive, where I start to like mutter under my breath as I'm walking away, which is very passive aggressive and very rude. And I'm working on, you know, like if I, you know, like keep my distance. If I, you know, at least go to another room where no one can hear me, and then I'll be like, can't believe you ate all the goodies from Christmas and I didn't get a chance to get any of it, or something like
This
that.
is why walk-in fridges and freezers are fantastic for cooks.
yes.
Because sometimes you just gotta haul off and deck a box of frozen bread, and you just feel so much better.
Yes, it really was like that. That's one of the things I miss the most about where I worked last because we skewered chickens. So for
Yeah.
at least a half an hour to maybe an hour, depending on which store you're looking at, because the small store was half an hour, but like it was half an hour to just like take it out on something. And I mean, you know, you're not going to abuse the product, but it's still you're still sticking a pole up something's asshole, and that's more than enough. That is more than enough to fulfill some fantasies, believe me.
You put an American flag on it, and it won't be a fantasy. It will just be patriotic.
Right? But like that, like that's just it. Like
Wow.
especially in customer service, because sometimes that like I said, that's the one thing where yeah, I will take a job because I need a job, but like I do understand what I'm going into is mental torture because it is mental torture. You are not getting paid for the work because believe me, the work is easy. The work could be done by monkeys. The till could be run by monkeys. It's not the monkeys that we're being paid for. It's you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No offense to you if you're a customer. I love my customers. It's just sometimes, and everybody knows it's probably the Karen and the male version of the Karen whose name is probably, I don't know at this point.
Bob.
Kyle's.
Kyle.
Kyle's. You know, it's just like,
Richard.
you know, and sometimes
Karen.
they're having a bad day and they take it out on you, and sometimes it's just that little bit of pyramid scheme in their brain where they think they're just better at you, and it's just like, I'm just working for a living so I can pay my rent and pay my bills, and I just want to do that. And I'm more than happy to be pleasant to you and try to help you if I can. I can't help you if there's stuff I don't have, though. And going to the back never makes it appear, ever. But I love it when you send me back there, though. Don't mind me if I take 10 minutes.
An excuse to escape.
Really, it is. But yeah, no, seriously, that was my biggest issue with customer service is really the down talk that you get. It's just, I'm not stupid. I do understand that a monkey could run this till. That's kind of one of the nice things about this job is I am getting paid to run a monkey job. But I'm here to pay my bills. Like, that's all. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. Like, believe me, like a lot of people do those jobs because they have other things they do on the side. Like people with genuine hobbies that they try to make money off of, they do like those jobs because you have it. You can work with the hours sometimes, depending on your bosses.
Yeah, it's nice when the boss lets you set your schedule. I do miss those days when I was working with the bookstore. That was the best job I ever had, truthfully, because I had such a good relationship with my manager, who has taught me a lot about how to properly manage people and how to, be understanding, and like you let them get away with little things. Like technically you're not supposed to have, like food on the floor, but you know what? As long as your Tim Hortons coffee is, like out of sight, it's a little thing, but it goes a long way to keeping your employees satisfied and keeping them sane, especially with all the crap that they have to deal with from the public. And it is a lot of crap because let's face it, a lot of people's favorite hobby these days is taking it out on customer service, and which is not cool at all. I mean, anyone who's going to be an asshole to a customer service person. I mean, granted, there are some really bad people who work in the customer service profession who probably have a little bit of it coming to them, especially if they come at you with an aggressive tone, like they come to work in a bad mood and they decide to take it out on the customers. Then you kind of you get what you give. But
yeah, exactly.
Oh, I feel so sorry for any customer service and my mum, and she'll even feel sorry for the poor bastard because she's just screaming on the phone. And she knows that the customer service people aren't the ones at fault, but because,
it's only when they give me attitude. If they start like going after me, then I'm going to get pissed off at them. Like if they start attacking me, then I all bets are off. My politeness goes out the door, and I'm just going to be rude back because, quite frankly, like don't mouth off to me because you hate your job. Like I get that you might be having a bad day, but you gotta learn to compartmentalize, or maybe that's not the job for you.
Well,
that kind of thing.
It's also that, like, I understand the frustration that sometimes the company and the store can't do everything that the customer would like.
Oh yeah, but generally
that can be frustrating. I understand that, but when you can tell that the person working there is doing their best, like they're doing their best to look up the item, they've made phone calls to see if they could locate it and maybe order it in for you, or like try. They've done everything that they can to try to get it, but they still can't do anything for you. But they still treat you like shit afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm like, okay, listen, that wasn't poor customer service. That was just they couldn't do it. Like sometimes that happens.
Sometimes shit is out of the staff's hands.
And that's one of them. And then the other one is just the down talk. Like there are just some people that would come up to you and every day they would just talk to you like you were mentally deficient, like you were a child. Like I slice meat for a living and people would come up and make a chest movement. Like, you know what that movement looks like?
Yeah.
You're a retard.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pounding of the chest. And it's just like, do you need to sound it out? The problem is, and I'm not blaming this on the foreigners, I'm blaming it on the fact that the people who come up there don't understand that there's like 10 fans. So sometimes you have to project your voice a little bit when you ask for things. And I found this, and I'm not calling people racist, but I actually am, because a lot of people would do that with a lot of the people who worked there that looked foreign, where they would just automatically talk to them like they couldn't understand them. And I was just like, because there's certain areas where when you're behind fans where you can hear people perfectly fine, and then you take a step over and you're just deaf as hell.
Yeah.
And the way that we talk to them, like, listen, it's not that she can't understand you. It's just the fan is between you and her. So whenever she's in that head movement, she can't hear you. If you want, you should stand over here because she can hear me just fine. Like, I was actually repeating her order to her because I understood what was going on, and she could hear me perfectly fine. And she was like, oh, thank God you understand what I'm saying. And I'm like, yeah, I've worked there. I've worked in situations exactly in the one you're in. And it's just, people don't understand. Like, it's not even racist. It's just degrading, because it's not just Asian people who get it. Sorry, my group was Asian. I didn't have a lot of Black people at the time. But I had it all the time. And by the end of my term there, between the bosses treating me like shit and then customers treating me like I wasn't intelligent enough to understand what they were doing, I needed to switch jobs. And there's nothing wrong with that. That happens in customer service. Sometimes, like, you do your best to stretch it out in customer service, because the longer you stay, the better your benefits are. That's basically it. Like, if you can stay the 10 to 20 years, if you're lucky to stay at a location for 10 to 20 years, you get a pretty decent retirement. I mean, it's not as great as like somebody in a CEO position or somebody even in like an engineering position, but it's enough.
Position, yeah. But it's a cost benefit analysis. If you find that it's starting to affect your mental health and your physical health, then it's time to cut the cord, because an expression my mom uses is there's only one you. And it's very true. You do have to prioritize you first. Like, you should not, no job is worth killing yourself over, basically. Like, working to the point of burnout.
I thought I was losing my mind. Like, I thought, like, am I so retarded? And the other thing too is, like, there's a lot of backstabbing in these stores. Like, that's just there's especially when there's a lot of old biddies. And to be quite frank, most of the people in my store were, they were women who should have been retired. And
like 10 years ago.
Yes, and I'm sorry, but ladies, sometimes you cause the most problems because all you do is you gossip. You don't do your fucking job. You make it difficult for the younger staff. They don't want to give you days off. Like, I remember my first job. Like, I'd worked 13 days in a row to get one day off. And it was my first time asking for one in the 2.5 years that I'd been working there. And on the day that I'd taken off, she calls me and she's trying to demand that I come in. And she's like, well, I mean, I have priority because I've been here longer. And I was like, bitch, I've been working for 13 days in a row. That's illegal.
The thing is my mum has a similar problem, but she's actually a manager of the store. It's like barely anybody fucking comes into the store.
Yeah.
So she has to walk in and do the job for them.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I understand that the older generation has had a hard time with the younger kids, because I'm in the middle on that one, because some of the later millennials were little shits. And the thing is there wasn't a lot of work ethic with a lot of kids growing up. Like, some of the foreign kids were great, honestly, because like they did grow up with a lot of their parents' respect for working to get anywhere. Not all of them. Some of them are rich little shits too. But it's one of those things where a lot of the teenagers that worked for us like to take convenient weekends off, conveniently sick all the time. And so naturally what you do is you install like doctor's notes. Well, all of a sudden those kids don't want to work for you anymore because they don't get to have their days off or they get fired.
Yeah.
So they'd rather quit, right? And so you're in and out of having staff. So you hire a bunch of foreign people, which is fine. I respect that part too. Like I would say fuck you to the teenagers too, but then they started doing it to like the middle-aged people as well.
Yeah. And once they start going, see, the thing is that when you've got to be a bunch of people who are quality employees, in that they've been working there for a while, they know what they're doing, but it is cheaper to hire a 16-year-old who will work for next to nothing and, will only work short hours so they don't have to get the benefits.
And you get both worlds from an adult who's foreign. Not from all. Some of them, honestly, some of them I'm like, you know what, I respect that you need a job, but this job is not for you because there's too much of a language barrier right now. Work your way up to it. But with the language barrier you do have right now, you are struggling and you are hurting yourself. Like you are hurting yourself right now. And that makes me sad. I would rather see them do a job that is going to give them money. Like I want them the respect of having a chance to earn their money, but I'd like them to work on the language a little bit more before they go into positions, because the language in customer service is actually really good for you. Like when you get to that certain level where you understand what's being said, all you need is to practice. And that is great. It's just they need to get to that level first. And that goes to a lot of places. I'm sure you understand, Armed Killer. Like it's not a sling at them. My grandmother was foreign. She came from Austria. So she learned most of her speaking skills from soap operas and Jeopardy! And the Weather Network. Yeah, well, he's from Quebec. He can say that because
that's true.
He's from Quebec. If I say that, there's a different label for me. But like for me, it's more I'm frustrated on their behalf, because I want them to not have a bad time here. I don't want them to be taken advantage of. I would like them to come here legally so that they can be good citizens, because my province has been fucked. Once they understand that, which I'm sure they will, because they're being fucked right now.
And Newfie and I are dealing with our province being just basically a free-for-all, open door, everyone in, to the point where we're all getting
overwhelmed,
rent evicted because they're increasing rents to such astronomical levels that people are being screwed over.
It's such a level of racism too, Like it really is. It really, really is. Like, why is that okay to do?
It's really not. And honestly, I know Toronto is expensive and whatever, but honestly, to move would be even more expensive. And I've looked at the statistics of everywhere around.
Yeah.
And
I remember hearing about it 4 years ago. I couldn't imagine now.
Yeah, and it's not. It's getting worse. It's not getting better. And all the places that people were moving to have now turned into what Toronto was, say, 4 years ago. So it's still, even if you want to get out, you're running into the exact same problems. So people are stuck in apartments that are like run down. They're not being properly maintained. You're dealing with a whole whack of issues, and then you add to it the fact that if you have health issues, you're kind of tethered to the major cities, because that's where the doctors are. That's where your specialists are. Like, that's kind of like, that's my biggest problem, is I'm tethered to where I am, because if I want to get the proper care, I have to be where the care is.
Have that. I technically have that problem where I am too, because like Calgary is a big city. Like I absolutely could compete with Toronto when I talk about Calgary in terms of the money, in terms of like the pricing out here, like sometimes we jump with you guys, like it's up and down. It's down here now, like it's definitely down here. But back during the oil strike, like we were well ahead of you guys, and it was so hard to live here, even with a good job. It was hard to live here, and now even two people are struggling.
Oh yeah,
and that's because of the carbon tax.
Yeah, the carbon tax. I mean, yeah, and they'll give you that $300, that measly $300. But I've noticed they've lowered it. I recently looked into it. They've lowered it this year, and they also have decided to conveniently not tell you when they're going to give it to you. So you don't even get the benefit of knowing when you're going to get it. At least with their GST refunds, they generally have it set for certain months, so you can plan ahead. With the carbon thing, it's like, one day they'll just decide to deposit it, but they won't tell you. It's like a shell game.
That is so underhanded.
It really is. What I found,
I would call that a bit of a scam.
Yes.
I was mad.
But we still don't get it. We don't get them anymore in Alberta.
Yeah.
So like we are getting taxed for it, but we're not getting it. And like I said, I don't want that tax. If anything, if you are going to tax me for no fucking reason, at least put it towards maybe improving the situation so we don't have situations in Canada that are not good for the environment. Like between BC and Alberta and Saskatchewan, we've had a lot of fires. So like, I know that you can't fix all of the forestry part of it, but like maybe there's things that we can look into towards like maybe fixing that problem, because that's taxes I don't have a problem with. I have a problem. Like I don't mind people getting, I understand that people could use the money. I do. But here's the thing. They're taking money out of your pocket and then putting money back in your pocket.
Mm-hmm. A lesser amount at that. And the people that really need it, the surprise shell game kind of thing that they're doing, that's not cool. I don't know. Are you experiencing that as well, Newfie? Where they don't tell you when that carbon tax refund's going to come in, so you have absolutely no idea when to expect it.
Yeah, pretty much at this rate. I'm thinking that they're using the Phoenix system so that they have no fucking idea what the hell they're going to do about that.
And it's not 300 this year. I think they've lowered it to 240 or something like that. So that's almost $100, that they've just kind of like lopped off it for no fucking good reason.
And they increased it too, right?
And I was pissed because, I mean, for someone on disability, I mean, I need that shit. Like,
at least it's going somewhere. Like I said, like I said, for me personally, I would rather it go towards because honestly, it's a bullshit tax. If they're going to tax to give you money, then they should say that.
Mm-hmm.
At least be honest about what it is that you're using it for. But like, it's a bullshit tax, and like I said, I at least you guys are getting it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't like being someone who's like,
it's okay. I'm not judging you,
but at the same time,
I'm not judging you.
I
am poor as well. Like, believe me,
it is.
It is exactly that. And the thing is like, for a lot of it, I wouldn't give a shit if I had a job.
Oh yeah,
and I know that if they hadn't done this to my province, a lot of the businesses wouldn't have shut down. Like I said, it's okay. Like, some of it's getting better, but it's the small businesses. It's the little guys that employ the little people that they've attacked that makes me so mad. And it's not at you. I'm glad you're getting it. I am glad you're getting it because I like you, and I don't like that you're sick. And I wish that there were things that magics that I could do that would make you better. But I'm not Harry Potter, so. I can't do that. But it's just the dishonesty.
Yeah.
I don't like dishonesty. It's a form of theft as far as I'm concerned, because it is dishonest. And the fact that it's being done at an inappropriate time.
Mm. It really is, and the fact that they don't know what they're like. I mean,
Mhm.
at least with like GST, HST refunds and stuff like that, they have it set, and you can actually go online and you can know when certain payments are coming in and whatnot, so you can plan accordingly. This thing where they just like dangle in there, it may come at some point. There are families that really fucking need that they're counting on
Yeah,
this,
well, that's just it.
and
Like,
they're screwed, you know,
yeah,
because
that's just it. Like,
plan
they,
for it.
they now need that money for the food that they need to feed their kids. Like,
Mhm.
it's not just the bills. Like, the bills at least are paid, but now they need to plan a little bit
Yeah.
ahead. And
And kids wear it close. Like, I mean,
Mm.
I look at my nephews, like, as they're getting older. I mean,
Mhm.
my sister was telling me, like, monthly she has to buy them. Like, I mean, these are two little boys that love to, like, play rough. And one of the things that this is a rather hilarious. They like to go down the stairs, like carpeted stairs, like on their butts, just kind of like slide down like they're tobogganing. And
That's the
it's
funny
cute.
part.
I remember that.
It's-
Yep.
It's cute, but they are wearing out their underwear to such a degree that my sister is having to replace it monthly. So she has actually gotten to the point where she's told the eldest, she said, "You do this again, I'm buying you princess underwear." Because that's gonna be your punishment. No more regular. You know, we're not you know, Walmart might be cheap, but it's not that cheap. You know, like
Yeah, after a
At the-
while.
at this point, you know, you're gonna get the sparkly princess underwear. You really want to do that? You want to be changing for PE class and sparkly princess underwear? Because I don't think you do. And
But
I
that's
think
just a
it's
stunning and brave movement right there. You know?
oh, it's not going to be so stunning and brave for him with the rest of his class. That's for sure. Like, I mean, let's face it, kids are kids. But she's probably also threatened to get her probably one size too small, just so it's, you know, not comfortable at all. You know, just anything at this point to just get him to stop the behavior, because you know, like at this point, it's like you got to cut this shit out. You know, you're wearing out your clothes. I'm not a money tree. You know, like please stop putting on your shoes to the point where you have to replace your shoes every month because you can't learn how to untie your shoes and tie them back on. You know, it's like shoes are expensive, kid. You know, like I can't constantly be buying you shoes. And that I think that's the thing that people don't realize with kids. It's clothes. That's a huge cost. Kids, like especially little boys, they will wear the crap out of their like a month, and you know, like they need a new pair of jeans, they need a pair of shoes, you know, there's mittens missing, there's that like half the socks are gone and nobody knows where the hell they are. Like the kid just shows up from home with one sock. Where's the other sock? I don't know. How do you lose one sock and not know? I don't know. Like, I mean, but that's kids. But that's the thing. Like, these are families that are struggling. Like, there are a lot of families that are struggling. And when you're taxing everyone to death and then dangling this tax refund that may or may not show up, I mean, you're putting families in a very difficult situation. And that's really not cool.
If anything, it kind of demoralizes you from having kids nowadays.
Yeah,
Because you know
actually,
you can't
that's
be
yeah,
financially responsible for them.
yeah. It's and something like ODSP. It's demoralizing people from getting married because guess what? The first thing they're going to do is you know, like axe your check. So people
Yeah.
are going the commitment ceremony or the common law route, you know, and declaring declaring otherwise, because yeah, the minute you start like putting stuff in there, the government's just like, well, we're just going to take more and more and more and more and more. And they're screwing over people who legitimately have no reason to be screwed over. They're telling people who are disabled they can't own cars. So you're pretty much telling them now, even if you want to work, guess what, you can't. You know, it's like you're shooting the people that could be part of your workforce, you know, like and who want to possibly, hopefully someday get off of this program, and you're making it so they can never get off of this program. There are actually people who are divorced who are forced to live together in Toronto area who are doing that simply because they cannot afford to live alone. It's become that bad. I've heard cases of this where it and so domestic violence rates are going up, and that's women towards men. Men, I mean, it goes both ways. Like, it's just a
A
clusterfuck of
shit show.
problems. Yeah, it really is, and the government's doing it to the people. These people would much rather be, you know, you know, done and dusted, like, but they're being forced to live in situations that are very highly toxic. You're getting multiple families having to live together, and like, making it a dangerous situation. There are children that are like sleeping in living rooms. It's horrible.
It's not a fair situation for them either. Like, honestly, like that's on the list of reasons why I don't like it.
Mhm.
I don't think it's good for them. It's not the promise that they've been given at
No,
all.
no.
They've been promised pretty much the same dream as the American dream, but only Canadian.
Yeah,
And honestly, it's being handled like that. They're
yeah.
not going to achieve it like that. And all they're doing is they're creating a victim mentality. And honestly, they technically are, because they've been
Mhm.
brought in. We don't have we're not handling the resources correctly. Like,
Yep, just like they say, like, oh, well, there's affordable housing. No, there isn't. There's a 10-year wait for affordable housing. 10 years.
yeah,
And the houses that are in the private sector are also having their prices rise
Hmm.
because of affordable housing.
Yeah, and so just to get into affordable housing, you might have to wait 10 years. And then when you get it, the odds of you getting stabbed, shot, killed, or being, infested by bed bugs goes up like about, a good 70,
95%.
80%. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, but yeah, it's just not proportionate. Though the way that the government is handling the tax dollars is just absolutely, it's despicable. I mean, between that and the healthcare system, and people are like, "Oh, Canada's so wonderful." It could be, if only somebody was running it right. But so far, nobody's doing any damn good job doing that. And it doesn't matter how loud the public is screaming. We need some freaking help. They're like, no, we need to make money with more people of recognition of historical significance on it. I'm like, that's where you're going to put the tax money? Seriously? Seriously? Tell me that's not where you're putting the tax money?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of flaws. Just
yeah. There's other
pisses me
stuff
off.
too, like the little extra spending that they do, that they think that we don't do the math on. Like, they didn't do the math on it last time, because they did. They've calculated the debt since Trudeau was first elected, and he's still on that roll. They're still collecting it,
Yep.
and it's going up because, yet again, they're not paying attention to their spending. And it's like, yes, I understand that, you're expected certain things when you're a prime minister or a president or whatever. But at the same time, though, if you can't afford shit, you can't afford shit. And he still thinks that we are his pocketbook. And
Yeah,
that's what
we're not.
infuriates us. It's like, you have people here who are legit suffering.
Yeah, we're not here to pay for your nanny, okay? Dude, like, you know what? Like,
And shave.
His
You look like a pedophile.
$40,000 two-day trips to Washington. Seriously? Because, oh well, he has to bring his entourage of media, and it's like, well, the media can pay for themselves, can't they?
Yeah.
yeah. They should be, honestly, like, if you're in public if you're in public service, like as a politician, in my opinion, you should be making what, like, not more than the people that you're serving. You should not be like trying to live like a celebrity, because, well, that's a whole other can of fish. But quite frankly, like, I mean, these people are living well beyond their means when they're in public servitude. They're public servants. That's how they market themselves. But they're making like this insane amounts of money, and they're sending their kids to the finest of private schools, and they've got like 3 nannies, and I'm just going, holy crap, just some of that money could be like, could actually keep some people from being homeless. Like, good God. But
and maybe some of that money, that's really it when it comes to these governments. The issue with them is that they aren't efficient with how they use their resources.
no, they're not. They really aren't. And it's almost like you got to ask, did these accountants actually have proper training? Like, I mean, did they go to school for accounting, or did they just like put out an ad on Craigslist? Because I'm starting to think that maybe
I have a vagina, and I can use a calculator with my vagina.
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
my clit is very talented.
Yeah, it could
Jesus,
press
that's
0
talented.
multiple times.
Sorry, I had
would
to.
love
I had
see
to.
that.
Oh,
It's very pointy.
I know, right?
I could write
I'm sure-
boobs on a calculator.
Right?
I mean, I've seen some women shoot ping pong balls out of there, but not use a
Jack, you got
calculator.
it correct. Exactly. Jack says it's because the government is the banker in Monopoly. When you decide how much you get paid, you can pay yourself unlimited money. That is absolutely correct. The government is acting like
is.
the banker, and always be suspicious of the banker in Monopoly.
Yes.
Because when I play Monopoly and I'm the banker, you best believe I'm pocketing stuff, because that's how I cheat at Monopoly, because I find Monopoly boring as all
And
hell.
honestly, they really shouldn't be. They really, really shouldn't be. It's like I said. There's all these little flags that keep cropping up. Like it's not just the censorship. It's not just the you have to take a course now to become a journalist approved by the government. Fuck that noise.
Mhm.
Really? So that we're only writing good things about you? Okay. I gotcha. A re-education camp for journalists, folks. Things like that I don't approve of.
The government doesn't want its people taken into task.
No, they don't. They want to protect them. That's why when I sent Jen that article about that guy, the MP,
Yeah.
that guy has been harassing people for years. A long time ago, I think I told you once, I got tricked into going to my friend's barbecue, and it turned out to be a hidden liberal fundraiser. That was this guy. And his daughter, they wound up giving me food poisoning on top of all this. And on top of that,
Jesus.
yeah, so not only but I was tricked into thinking it was just my friend's barbecue. But no, it was a ploy. He was using his children to get people to come to a liberal fundraiser. And I had no idea until I got there. And then I went, well, shit. I can't leave now because my friend invited me and my parents are gone out for the day. So I'm stuck here. And then his kids started drinking. And we were like 14. So not cool. I did not imbibe. But I definitely did vomit all over his driveway in front of all his lovely liberal supporters. So I did stick it to him in that way. But this guy is seriously a piece of work. Like he has used some horrifically foul language to describe his constituents. That was one part of the article I don't think you read, where he was telling like if they think I'm an asshole, they can go fuck themselves. Like he actually said that. That was on tape.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of people that are running, and that is why nobody in that area likes this guy. But they can't get rid of him because he's taken up roots like one of those weeds that just keeps coming back. Like he's probably going to be there until they either arrest him or he dies. And quite frankly, I don't care which comes first. I may have gone to school with his kids. I may have been friends with his daughter for a brief period of time until I realized that her dad was kind of a psycho. But no, I mean, I kind of for my parents' sake, I want
See,
him the hell out of
that's
there.
always the problem. When the enemy of your enemy is also your enemy, you're kind of screwed. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
even if it was just an NDP just to kick him out,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't like NDP either. Like, I don't like Jagmeet Singh because I think he's a shady guy. I don't think he has the best interests of anybody but his own group. And even his group is a very small minority. Make no mistakes about that. I'm not talking about his color. I'm talking about his friends.
Yep, the only NDP guy that I ever respected, the only two ones was Olivia Chow and Jack Layton. And the minute they got rid of them, all my respect for the party just went right out the window.
Yeah.
I respected the hell out of the man. I respected the hell out of her. And the minute that they ran them out of town, I lost all respect for the party. Anything that remotely hung on by a thread was gone.
Well, given Jack Layton's situation, I'm not surprised he was, he left the party. I mean, the man died.
Yeah.
So
But his wife tried to carry on the legacy, and she was basically run out of town. And
no, of course.
yeah, and that was really unfortunate because I actually got a chance to speak with her. I actually messaged her on Facebook, and it wasn't an aide; it was her who messaged me back to talk about the situation. And like, this is a woman who genuinely actually gave a crap about people. And like, my friends used to have like backyard like keg parties and barbecues and stuff like that, and the family would show up because they just liked being part of the community. They didn't expect anything in return. They didn't publicize it. There was no photographer. They just came because they were just nice people. And that's the kind of people that you kind of want in government. And sadly, that's the people that kind of went out. And yeah, after he passed and she tried to carry the torch and that didn't work. Yeah, all respect I had for that party just went right in the crapper. Because they were the last good that I could possibly see coming out of that party in any way, shape, or form. And
yeah, they're completely communist now.
Yeah, they were hanging to the last thread of any kind of liberalism, centrist ground. Like, I mean, that was the only thing that was kind of like.
I can't remember though. Who replaced Elizabeth May? I'm glad she was finally replaced.
I actually don't know.
It's just fallen off the map. Like, their group
it
has
has
completely fallen off the map. Like, I don't like.
Sora might know because Sora's in BC, so Sora would know. But because they're heavily green.
Because I mean, like, they're still in Vancouver. It's just I know that Elizabeth May stepped down after the last election, and there was a lot of mockery at her because she's crazy.
I think the whole party's dissolved pretty much at this point. Like, I don't think anyone.
That explains why. That explains why Vancouver's gone like.
Well, it was already on. Let's face it. Vancouver's been on its way out. Like, I mean, anyone with half a brain that had any money hightailed it up to Victoria as fast as they fucking could. At least my family did. The only people that I know that are in Vancouver, they're very low income. Like, mom works as just a general sales associate at a children's store, and dad does audio engineering. They've got 2 kids. They're living in low-income housing in Vancouver, and they're just, every day they have to tell their kids, don't touch needles on the ground, and they're just praying that something pops up that they can get the hell out of there, but they can't. But they had to go where the jobs were for her husband. So, and that's where they wound up. But they had to get out of Toronto because they couldn't afford to live there, and then they wound up in Vancouver because his family was there, so they figured at least there'd be babysitting for the kids. And
that never works out that way.
Yeah, that was their thinking at the time.
Yeah. Oh no, I know. I've heard that story a lot of times. Like, because sometimes it starts off like that. Sometimes
there's support. Like, she had no family that could support, so it was all his family, and so they moved to be closer to his family, so the kids would have extended family, and at least. And then when they got there, they realized how bad the situation was, but they were too screwed over, like that they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, well, yeah,
So-
especially since you move. Like, I mean, you're already
Yeah.
broke when you move.
Yeah, and they drove. She was 8 months pregnant, and they drove cross country to move. She was 8 months pregnant with her first when they moved, and that must have been one hell of a trip. Like I was supposed to actually, they were gonna take me to help go down, but then her sister decided to do that, and then her sister wound up like stealing from them, so they were very upset that they did not take me instead at that time. This was a good 10 years, 12 years ago. But yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember getting a call from her going, I'm really sorry that you got bumped for my sister because we really should have taken you. It would have been a much better trip.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm lucky. I've only ever had to really move across town, and I mean that was bad enough because nobody ever really wants to help you. It's always better to just hire people.
yeah,
It really is.
the furthest I've ever moved, I think, was to Niagara Falls, and way back when, that was a good 15 years ago, and real cheap rent. At least at the time, I think I was paying $200 for my share for a 2-bedroom apartment. It was quite a sweet deal, but. Yeah, kiss transportation goodbye. If you don't drive, you're screwed. So I was screwed.
The amount of times I was like, I mean, well, my first apartment, I lost most of my stuff. So all my replacement stuff was like low end, not even IKEA, build it yourself furniture. So moving from one apartment to the other, like honestly, we just carried it. I went from like 3 blocks to a new apartment, and we just carried everything.
Yeah.
Anything I couldn't carry, my mom we just stuffed into her back car, and we just did it that way. But
Yeah,
like-
movie companies are not cheap because they also expect to be tipped. And
Yep.
they expect to be tipped. Actually, when Functional and I moved here, I think it was right in the middle of December, and I had some extra like goodies that I'd been collecting over the years, like collectibles. I think I had some like portal guns, and I had some Furbies that were still in package. And I'm like, you got kids? Here you go. Merry Christmas. So there's your tip. Because it was what I could afford, and I knew the kids would like it, and I could let them pick it out. So, it was what I could do, do what I can. But had some help with my parents in terms of getting the moving van. But yeah, moving companies, they ain't cheap, and shopping around for one is hell. Because you get a different quote, and God forbid that they get delayed or they decide to stop for coffee, and then they charge you for the time while they're loitering somewhere, like just shooting the shit, getting their coffee and donuts and making you wait. I mean, I've seen some people move into the building recently, and I think one of them was it must have been at like 10:30 at night. They were still at it, and I'm like, good God, when did you guys start? And they're like, oh, we started around 7 p.m. I'm like, who the hell moves at 7 p.m.?
Yeah.
Like, what the literal? And it was this little old lady, too, so I felt so horrible for her. Like, she had all her possessions just, like, stashed in the lobby of the building. And she's just sitting there. She can't lift anything. She had, like, I guess her grandkids or something. They were doing their best to help. But, yeah, it's just not it's just not. And the sad part is there are empty apartments and condos and things sitting open in Toronto right now that could be filled with people that need it, and they are sitting empty because they are just, the pricing is just through the roof, and they're basically turning them into Airbnbs and anything else to make a buck. And it's the companies that are using it, and they're taking every legal loophole they can do. And the government is just turning a blind eye and letting it happen. And it's just absolutely just horrifying.
That's as they do. They do.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I don't trust any of them. I believe that was a joke by the Greeks. Something about politics and poly meaning many and ticks being a blood-sucking diseased parasite.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yep. That it
Mhm.
is.
Yep.
100% agree.
Yep. Well, guys, it is almost 7 o'clock, and I really shouldn't burn through all of these hours because, well, I mean,
Yeah.
February I get away with a little bit because February's
Yeah,
just
a little bit. A
tiny
little
bit
bit of a
slower.
shorter month.
But yeah, I don't want to burn through too much of that. And we will be back on Functional's channel. Hopefully, he will be awake this time. But I know he's in and out of consciousness because he's a.
Oh, he's fast asleep right now, I believe. I
Oh,
will
go
have
get the
to.
cuddle for me.
I will try and wake him up again to eat something because he should eat something. So I will
Yes, so-
just.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah.
This is his channel here. So he's trying to get to.
I would like to also point out that my avatar is shooting at your flowers, Jen.
What?
Huh.
Take
You're
a look.
Shooting.
My beaver gun is shooting at the flowers.
Ooh.
Oh, the beaver is after the flowers.
Oh, I see. I
It's
gotcha.
fucking
I
nature,
gotcha.
right?
And Armscare is looking like he's gonna take a gun and shoot me in the head right now, the way that his avatar is pointed at me. So we got a very hostile environment going on right now.
It's a
No.
Mexican
See, you see,
standoff.
he's an undercover British police officer.
Ah.
He's wanting to check your license, but you're Canadian, so he's not sure of how to go about that.
Yeah.
I see how it is. Okay.
May I check your? Oh wait, you're Canadian.
Damn Canadians!
I'm sorry.
All right, guys.
Proceed.
So, do we have any shilling to do? Like Newf
Well,
or
I've shilled Functional's channel, and this is obviously Jen's channel, so please subscribe. And
Thank you.
been, she's got her
I got your
Streamlabs in her description there, but I will put it up again. So if you'd like to donate to our lovely Snow Mexican, who so dutifully comes out every week, there she is right here that you can donate to. And this month, Functional and I are trying to raise money so that my computer is no longer a potato and runs at more than 3 gigs of RAM. So if you'd like to help out, right here, this is Functional Streamlabs, which I don't have access to, but he will get anything that anyone wants to donate later. So he also does gaming streams as well, which are very, very good and very funny.
All right.
Yeah, I've watched a few.
All right. So I guess I'll go right and then bottom, and then I'll stop at me. So Newf, what have you been up to?
5657. How about yourself? I've been doing some stuff behind the scenes to get my channel on the go. Obviously, you see the avatar there, drawn up by one of my great friends, who I'm forever blessed for her taking on the project. But I'm just getting over a case of pneumonia, so I'm just hoping that I can start recording some stuff very shortly. I got a new mic system coming in soon, so that should help improve the quality. So, yeah. So be on the lookout for that. I'm very active in Alex's Discord. I also have my own Discord server, but I'm still setting that up as well too. I'm very active on Twitter now. Me and my producer, as I like to call it. So I wish I had the links, but I don't. But yeah.
Okay, well,
And,
when
yeah,
you get the
other than
links, pass them along, and
Yeah.
I'll
we
be sure
will.
to
For
shill for you.
Yeah,
As
for sure.
as I do for Functional and Jen. So
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll just worry about that stuff later. So I'm just here just to, enjoy the company.
Sounds well. I appreciated that because there was a little bit there. I was like, well, I know Elwin's going to join me, but I was like, well, I know for sure that Functional's not going to, because I saw when his lights turned off, and I was like, oh, that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you good? So I'm not being rude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
Arms Killer, how about yourself? What have you been up to? I know sometimes you're trapped in Blind Girl's basement, and sometimes I'm not sure about that. Sometimes I feel like Peter steals you, and then sometimes
Let's just
Skittles.
say I have plans, but I have not. I procrastinate so badly that any plans I did have are going out the window,
Right now, he's negotiating for his freedom.
and that too.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us too, because like it was great having you on, and I actually like having a variety of voices on here because it adds for a different conversation, and honestly, the stories are quite. It's amazing how different people from different places have similar stories.
Mhm.
Um,
It shows the interconnectivity, like you were talking about with the internet bringing people together, and it's
Yeah.
very true. It's very true.
Mm-hmm.
like it really did. Like there's so many friendships that I've made with people that like I never thought that I would have, just because it was like, oh well, and I hate to break it to you, but English helped with that. It really, really, really did. Because if they didn't speak English, I wasn't really talking to them. I was just mostly going, well, hope you have a nice day in English.
Yeah.
And on another note, so I just noticed that my picture has this little white spot. And I know that that's one of the flowers, but now that you've got that beaver pointing at me, my brain went to wrong places. So
That beaver's getting excited.
yeah, that beaver was getting very excited. So so just so you guys know, I will be back on Functional's channel on Saturday, and that's 5 p.m. Eastern time or 3 p.m. if you are living in the West like I am. And you should go and watch Lords of the Night, because they're playing now, and that's what happens whenever Monkey streams. And it's not Monkey's turn this night, so like show support to
And
Satsu.
Sweetest said her first word.
Oh, she sure did. She said
Oh.
Dada. And you have no idea how hard it was not to just send that to everybody. It was like, no, Jen, that is Satsu's job. It's his child. You do not have the right to do that. But I was like, well, I can send it to Elwyn and I can send it to Functional. That I'm allowed to do that because they don't have Twitter.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
it was adorable.
Oh, sure was. All right, guys. Have a good one, and I will catch you all later. Bye.
Ciao. Bye.
I don't have an intro.